There we go. Hi, can everyone come and take a seat, please? We're going to get started. Grab some food and grab something to drink, and please take your seat. We're going to get started. We've got a long evening ahead. We're seeing 6 presentations. Each is going to take at least 15 or 20 minutes. So the sooner we sit down, the sooner we can get started. So please, everyone, please come take a seat. Yes, sitting. Hi, good luck. See what you're up against. Oh, yeah. Okay, let's get started. Welcome. I'm Jeff Dennis. I am the chair of TyQuest. I've done this for a few years. This is sort of my passion project. So it's great to see everybody here and live and in person. And we also have an audience on Zoom. So hello to them and welcome to TyQuest 2022, the MedTech stream. The last time we all got together, it was almost exactly 3 years ago. And the next year, we got started live. We had the mentoring session was live at Fasken at my office. And the first round of judging we did live. It was in the end of February, and nobody had even heard of COVID at that time or had any sense of what it meant. In fact, a week or so later, we got sent home from work like everybody else and, hid in our basements. But, everybody was thinking it was going to be maybe a couple weeks and, how long could this go on? Well, here we are. So finally, people are starting to come out and go to events and get together. And this is our first live event. The next year we did it completely virtual. So we did all the rounds, the judging were done virtually on Zoom. And then we had finals also on Zoom, which we opened up to a broad audience. And then this year we started doing it on Zoom because, back in November, we had no idea what it was going to look like. So we planned it on Zoom. And about a month ago, we decided that we were going to go live. And so I want to just say a special thank you to Baylis MedTech because they took care of all the logistics. They made it look easy for us and make us look good. So thanks to them, and thanks to Yashvi Asher, who's our executive director, because frankly, she just makes this thing happen. Again, she makes us look good. So, if anything's going well, the old story is come, congratulate me. And if things are going badly, you tell Mahendra. But the truth is that Yashvi, makes us look good. So thank you. Like and you don't know what it takes to pull something together. It's like those old time movies where everybody, was going to put on a Broadway style show and get together, and you're the carpenter and so that's what happened, to get this together. So, thanks to Kenshin for organizing the Zoom and the tech stuff here. And everybody just really pulled together to make this happen. I already introduced myself. So tonight our agenda is welcome. So far so good. We're going to then tell you a little bit about TIE and TIE Quest, and then we're going to get right into the presentations. We've got 6 incredible companies. Each one is very different. We used to do them all together, MedTech, FinTech, CleanTech, whatever, but we split out MedTech this year for the first time because we thought it was sort of silly to compare somebody who was curing cancer with, a dating app. But in any event, it's just, it took us many years to figure that out. But anyhow, so we've split it out. But truth be told, each company is really unique, and each company is worthy of being here. And really the point of this exercise is to showcase them, to help them achieve what they're looking for. And each one, is either looking for money, or they're looking for strategic partners, or they're looking for customers, or they're looking for something. So this whole exercise, the drinks, the food, Baylis, it's all about these companies. And I think you'll see that our judges, who you'll meet in a minute, are going to have a really difficult job. Because frankly, I've seen each presentation at least twice, and I don't know how they're going to decide. So you're in for a great, great evening of presentations. We're going to hear from our host, Baylis, and we're going to hear about an update from some past winners, and then we're going to have the award presentation. So let's get into it. Thanks to our sponsors. I've already mentioned Baylis, but Silicon Valley Bank and Fasken, my firm, the City of Toronto, First Angel Capital, BDO, Startup Toronto, Hockey Stick, Tangentia Ventures, Bond Consulting, OCI, NACO, the National Angel Capital Organization, and BizPlanner. Again, without our sponsors, this just couldn't happen. So we're really, really grateful. Thank you. I think most of you know what TIE is, but just for any newbies out there, it's a nonprofit global organization focused on nurturing entrepreneurs. And every city has chapters. There's 61 chapters in 18 countries. Thousands and thousands and thousands of charter and associate members all over the world. And we're just trying to help, trying to advance each one of these companies, and everybody in each city does it a little differently. Our big event, of course, is TIE Quest. And we provide mentoring and education and networking, and we help these companies raise capital. And we do it because we want to give back, and we think it's important from a grassroots basis to help build the country and build the economy by helping startups, because that's where the growth is, that's where the future is, that's where the jobs are going to be. So we're pretty committed. I mentioned a few of the members of our committee, Yashvi, of course, my colleague Hashim Ghazi, who would be here tonight but is home with COVID, unfortunately, but he's been excuse me, he's been instrumental and helped tremendously running a lot of the Zoom competitions. Of course, Mahendra, everybody knows Mahendra, the chapter president, and frankly, without Mahendra, nothing like this would happen. I learned years ago that he just makes things happen. It's remarkable. At the beginning, I wasn't so sure because, I'm a lawyer. Like I'm buttoned down. I want lists. He made me crazy, but I've learned over the years just to relax because it's just going to happen. And he just makes it happen. So this year, I showed up when you showed up because I knew that Mahendra would make it happen. So kudos to Mahendra. Kanchan, our tech guy, thank you for your help. Moet and Vijay and Akash and Apsana, thank you so much. Again, without all these volunteers, we just couldn't make this happen. TIE Quest is our premier event. We think it's the biggest such event in Canada. We think it's the best and most prestigious, really only because the companies we get are just incredible. So we attract a high quality of applicants, and our graduates, if you will, win or lose, tend to do pretty well. So we think we're helping a little bit along that journey, and we're excited to do that. It's been going on since 2006. As I told you, we split it up into regular companies and MedTech companies. Over the years, we've had over 1,000 companies and 2,500 entrepreneurs participate. There's been over $1 million in cash and prizes awarded, and we've had over 500 volunteers involved. And that's where this event, year after year, here in Toronto. This year, we had 50 companies selected to pitch. We then did a preliminary round, and of those, 25 moved on, and the other 25 got a nice pat on the back and a wish good luck. And then we did another round of judging for the 25 to get to what we have to this evening, our 6 finalists. We had 72 judges and mentors volunteer to help us. I'm not going to read the names, but you can see there's a lot of people, and they're venture capital people, they're angels, they're entrepreneurs, there's lawyers, there's accountants, there's, I mean, everybody. It's really remarkable how the community comes together to support these companies. And thank you to them, because again, none of this happens without people. So here's what's happened so far. Applications opened back in December and closed at the end of January. We spent February, the beginning of February, mentoring, and each company had at least 2 mentors assigned to them that were from industries relevant to their business. And then we did our first round of pitches, as I explained, and got it down to 25 companies at the end of February. And then in March, we did the second round and got to these 6 companies by the end of March 21st. And here we are to figure out who are going to be the finalists and who are going to be the winners. Just a reminder, next Thursday at 1:11 in downtown Toronto, at the same time, we're doing this all over again because, you know, once is not enough. But we're going to do the regular stream. So there's going to be 6 more incredible companies, both live and streaming on Zoom. So please remember and join us next week too. We've done some good work, or at least the companies that come through our program have been pretty successful. I don't know if people remember Paper, what were they called, Mahendra? Grade Slam, that's right. Montreal-based company, Grade Slam, won this thing about 6 years ago. Earlier this year, they raised $270 million and are officially a unicorn. They're our first unicorn, I think, Mahendra. So, you know, maybe one of these 6 companies is going to have a story about them in 6 years. Or less. So, you know, these kinds of things really happen. There's been other great stories, perhaps not as being unicorns, but we've had some really terrific companies come through, who've all achieved some incredible things. So here we go. It's time for the main event. The first place winner will win a $10,000 grand prize and a $100,000 investment opportunity from a group of angel investors, and will receive some in-kind services from Fasken, BDO, membership in TIE as a charter member, participation in TICon in Silicon Valley and the TIE 50 competition, and consulting services from Bond Consulting. And the runner-up teams will actually get all the same things except for the 100,000 and the 10,000, but they're going to get all of the same in-kind prizes, including the opportunity to represent us in Silicon Valley at the worldwide competition and be recognized as one of the top 50 companies in Thai's world globally. Which again, it's all about the exposure for these companies and helping them find their journey. Oh yeah, forgot about you guys. Thank you to our judges. We have a very eminent group of judges: Billy Lai, with IGAN Partners, Jennifer Moles from OCI, Manuel Paulian from Baylis. Thank you, our hosts. Robert Harrison, also from Baylis, and Dr. Shiraz Sulman, who's a physician and a CEO of startup and advisor. So thank you very much to our judges. Again, they have a tough job tonight. All right, here we go. So we have 6 companies: Steadyware, which is a company that helps people with tremors to get stability. I'm not going to tell you, let them tell you. So why don't we get started? First, we have Enrich Bioscience. So Vinay, you're up. Oh, sorry. So what I have to turn, I have to get rid of this and put your, do you know where yours is? So hang on, I just can't find. There you go. So you have 15 minutes and there'll be 5 minutes of Q&A. And as soon as, and you get started anytime you're ready.
Thank you for the introduction. My name is Zsuzsanna Lichner, and I'm the project manager of Enrich Bioscience. I'm very happy to be here and see everybody in their three-dimensional form. And I would like to thank ThaiQuest and the organizers for the opportunity to represent Enrich Bioscience tonight. Today is World Health Day, and I do my part by introducing you to our vision, which is to create accurate cancer models that reflect your genetic ancestry. First of all, I would like to acknowledge all the fantastic people and organizations behind Enrich Bioscience. They have been helping us through our journey for many, many years. Cancer probably affected everybody in this room. It's a major distress. It's a physical, emotional, and financial distress. Cancer Canada statistics estimate that 2 out of 5 Canadians will develop cancer in their lifetime. So let's take just a moment. If it is so frequent, 20% of us will be diagnosed with cancer. So what would it feel like to be diagnosed with a suspicious lump? After initial test, the doctors will perform a tissue biopsy because this is the gold standard for cancer detection. During this procedure, the doctor inserts a long and relatively big hollow needle into the suspicious tissue area, takes a tissue piece and sends it for histological and molecular analysis. As you would imagine, this is a relatively invasive procedure. It causes bruises, wounds, it may even dislodge cancer cells. So really it is not fit for a continuous monitoring of the tumor. But luckily we have alternatives. While cancer cells grow fast, they also die fast, and they secrete their cellular material into our bloodstream. And we can detect this cancer-derived cellular material just from a vial of blood. This is called liquid biopsy, and is really a paradigm shift in cancer detection. It is much less invasive than the classical tissue biopsy, and it is geared specifically to be able to monitor tumor frequently. So what are we really looking for in a liquid biopsy specimen? You can look after DNA or protein coming from specifically from the cancer, but recent studies show that DNA methylation patterns that are specific for cancer are the ones that will have the highest clinical significance. What is DNA methylation? It is a chemical modification on the DNA that determines a cell's function. We have thousands of different spots on the human genome that can potentially be methylated. And certain methylation patterns are specific for each of our organs, and other methylation patterns are specific for cancer or for certain cancer types. So we are looking for these DNA methylation patterns that are cancer specific, and they are the base of our cancer models. Enrich Bioscience has a long-lasting history in detecting DNA methylation signals. While we were in the J labs, we developed a method that is very sensitive, fast, cost-effective, and we filed a patent application for this method. The review of our patent is in its final stage, and we just had an interview with our patent reviewer in January, and she was very optimistic that we would get this patent granted in the United States and in India by the end of 2022. So with this, we are in the race with 1,600 other companies who are all interested in early cancer detection. Only about 25 companies are in our exact space who want to detect cancer methylation patterns from liquid biopsy specimens. So how are we going to stand out from this crowd? Clearly, we need lots of samples and lots of data to make a statement. Luckily, one of our strengths is our diversity. Our founder, Dr. Kare, has an Indian background, and he has been working tirelessly in the past 3 years in India to establish academic collaborations with oncology hospitals, to have access to the data and to the patient specimen that we need. But that means that almost all of our data will derive from a different country or altogether a different continent. And it's possible that people who live in a South Asian continent will have a different genetic background that might influence that, how the cancer models perform. So we were interested whether we could use the models that we developed for European distant patients in Asian distant patients. To answer this question, we analyzed the largest publicly available cancer genetics database, the TCGA database. I just want to very quickly summarize our results. With bioinformatics analysis, which was a major undertaking, we realized that when we build a model on European descent patients to detect cancer, then we can use that model to detect cancer in a separate set of European patients. However, when we use the same model and try to predict cancer in Asian patients, then suddenly our accuracy drops from 80% to 48%. That means that we are going from a relatively good test to nearly garbage. The other important information that I have to highlight is that almost all cancer genomics data that is available was derived from European descent patients. You can see on this graph that Indians, which are grouped under the non-Chinese Asian population, are represented by less than 2% of all cancer genomics data. That means that we need to diversify our data, and we have to be able to build models that address each and every genetic background. But that also means that we are in a very lucky situation, because in India, we have strategically placed connections with AIIMS Hospital, Tata Medical Center, and Manipal University. And they do have already DNA methylation-based data, and they are ready to use our cost-effective method to generate more data. All the data will go through Enrich Bioscience's proprietary informatics pipeline, and we will generate cancer models that are accurate for South Asian descent patients. Meanwhile, we can't forget about European descent patients because we are a Canadian company, and in North America and Canada, the majority of the population has a European background. Luckily, their data is easily available. So we will develop cancer models that are tailored to and more accurate also for the European descent patient. Altogether, we will generate a series of ancestry-adjusted cancer tests, and no need to mention that each of these can be patented. As I mentioned, first and foremost, we are a Canadian company and we want Canadian citizens to benefit from our work. We envision that our product will be a laboratory developed test. So what is a laboratory developed test, or LDT? It is a test that has been developed and serviced at a single laboratory location. We will bring our models for Asian, South Asian and European descent patients, and we'll use a small validation set, about 20 to 30 patients, and we can already launch an LDT test in Canada. We of course need specimens, and we need a physical laboratory locations. We collaborate with Dr. Rola Salib, who kindly offered to supply us with South Asian and European descent patients specimens. And we also collaborate with Virotech Biosciences. They are the diagnostic labs in a core downtown, and they are ISO accredited. They are not only interested to help us out with the validation study, but they are also interested in launching our test. And because they already obtained the ISO accreditation, they can service USA and Canada with our test. Why did we pick LDT? What is the benefit of an LDT test? It is really the most common way to start commercializing a genetic test. There are two reasons. One is the FDA and Health Canada does not regulate LDT tests. It's enough for the laboratory to say that we are satisfied with our accuracy, and the test can be launched after a limited validation study. The second good thing about LDT that it can be marketed and sold directly to customers who can be patients or physicians. So while you are selling your test and you generate revenue, you also build your database, which makes your test, of course, accurate and better. From a patient's point of view, our test will be very simple. They could order the test online. They can submit the samples themselves if it's a blood sample, or we can send out a blood sample collection kit, or they can come by our facility. If it's a tissue sample, then the pathologist will need to submit the testing material. The LDT testing will be performed at the Virotech facility, and Enrich will send out a report which will state whether the patient has cancer or not, what cancer type was detected from their blood sample, and what is the expected prognosis of the cancer, depending on which LDT test do they choose. I don't need to convince you that the cancer market is huge, but I want to mention that DNA methylation diagnostic market alone was estimated at $1.5 billion in 2020. 75% of all shares are held by the USA. And you can say that South Asian Americans are a very small portion of USA residents. They're only about 1.6%. And this specific market is relatively small. It's only $20 million. But that's not only what we are going after. Because of our Caucasian descent cancer models, we are also in the race for a much larger market segment, which reaches $900 million. I just wanted to mention that to our surprise, one of our collaborators, Dr. Tapasya Srivastava, has already licensed Enrich Biosciences DNA detection method from blood. So we are very happy for her and excited for her. This is really recent, and I just wanted to mention it. We have a very strong scientific team. I want to highlight Dr. Taran Kare, who is the founder and the inventor of Enrich's method. He has more than 15 years experience in working with DNA methylation, and he has been trained in Europe and in Canada. Dr. Sanchong Wang is a professor at the University of Taiwan. He holds a chair position in machine learning for human diseases. I'm the project director, and I have more than 8 years experience in cancer research as a postdoctoral fellow and a research associate here in Toronto. We have a large number of scientific advisors and collaborators, but I want to highlight Dr. Maman Chandi and Dr. Satyamurthy and Dr. Talma, because these people are our main connectors to the most important oncology hospitals and oncology institute in India. So I know that I overloaded you with lots of information, and that's why, in a nutshell, I want to mention that we have a proprietary method, which hopefully will soon be patented. We also have a large amount of data, and the data generation is still ongoing in India. And we are launching LDT tests for North Americans and for Indians. So it's not only the LDT test what we hope to generate revenue for us. We already saw that academic partners are interested in using our proprietary method, and we expect that hospitals and diagnostic companies will also have an interest. The data is obviously gold for everybody. Data companies, diagnostic companies, and pharmaceutical companies will be interested in the data that we generate in India. And LDT tests, of course, will benefit patients, physicians, and there is already interest from Indian community laboratories to use our LDT test once it's approved. In summary, we have different products which can give us different revenues. We have a short product development cycle. Our team is highly qualified and diversified. We have key connections in place in Canada and in India. And we have a method that is close to being patented. And we have several other products that can be easily patented. These will be our cancer models that match the genetic ancestry of the patients. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention. And Dr. Tarankar and I will take questions.
So you now have 5 minutes for Q&A. So maybe might have some questions.
Sure. Thank you for the presentation. Very interesting company here. I wanted to maybe better understand, is the intention here to serve as maybe a triage type test, or are you meant to replace the gold standard biopsy process altogether?
I think the goal here is to complement the tissue biopsy. You are not going to be able to replace tissue biopsy for so many reasons. One of them is like the overall very conservative mindset of medical doctors, and also you need that information for patients. What we want is to complement this information that you can get from tissue biopsy, because really with tissue biopsy, you can, how many biopsies are you gonna have? You can have maybe one in the beginning, then you have the surgical specimen, and later on it will be very difficult to conduct a biopsy unless they are able to find metastatic nodules, let's say, right? So sometimes it's also an access question, so sometimes you can't have a biopsy. What we are really aiming for is a test where you can monitor that what's going on with the cancer. And you can have, of course, many questions. One is like, what is the primary cancer? Sometimes that's a question, and it's relatively easy with a DNA methylation pattern to determine what is the primary cancer. And second question could be that after the surgery, is the cancer returning or not? So you don't know, like, this is something that I think is the real use of this test, that it's easy to monitor. People are always going for a blood test. For them, it's the same to go every 3 months, see the oncologist and give an extra vial of blood. And we will be able to tell whether we see any increasing presence of cancer in their blood specimen.
Thank you for a wonderful presentation. Just a couple of questions I have. At what age would you like to start doing these tests? Number one. Two, how much you think the test will cost approximately? And the last question is, have you any concerns about false positive test results?
Yeah, these are all great questions. So for the first question, what age would we start this test? I think, as I mentioned before, that at this point, it will be the best to market this test as a follow-up test after a surgical removal of the cancer. Because just for us to be able to say safely that, that what is this test for, like how to put it. So to be able to say that this is a diagnostic test and it's for early cancer diagnosis, then you would have to recruit 10,000 people, you wait for them to get cancer, so on. So it's not possible for us as a small company. But once they got cancer, there is a high chance that the cancer will recur. So if we follow them up every 6 months and they do their regular checkup with their oncologist and they submit a blood sample to us, then in 2 years, we have data that how sooner can we detect cancer than, and how much better our test performance is than the regular standard care. And we actually have this set up already in India. They are already, this clinical trial is ongoing and they are collecting us this blood specimen and the matching tissue specimen from the surgical material. So that's my kind of question for your answer for your first question.
Second question was about
the price.
Price of the test. So when we were building this test, we were always thinking about if it is the patient has to pay out of his pocket, because yes, that is the majority of the patients, they want to do it because they want to get information earlier than what the physicians can prescribe for. And if that is the case, then the test should be affordable. What is the very first question that we have to ask? Whether the cancer is present or it's growing or not, present or absent. So that's the way we have structured the entire test. It's in 2 stages. First stage is telling whether the cancer DNA is present or not. And it's all based on the DNA methylation, right? And once that is there,
And that is like a very affordable.
it's very affordable. We have priced something like 200 Canadian dollars. And then once there is a positive signal, then only we are putting out on the next generation sequencing in order to define the pattern. And that pattern will be defining what cancer it is, which organ is affected, which type is it, and what, pardon? And the prognosis. And that is a bit more on a higher side. That is around 1,800 Canadian dollars, which is relatively at the similar price range as what other competitors are giving right now. But they are not giving the entire profile. They are just giving for the few biomarkers.
The last question about false results.
So regarding the false positive and negative, of course, we are looking for that, but that will be coming when we are generating the models. Right now, the biggest question is, where's the data? Data is totally missing. Thank you.
Well, terrific presentation. Good luck. Judges, you can start doing your thing. And who's next? Sorry. Are you next, Vinay? All right, let's come on up. I can't see it.
I can sing and dance till then.
So judges, how are we doing? All right. So it's now time for our next presenter. So we have Vinay Singh from Orange Neuroscience. Here we go.
So by now, everyone already knows the question that I was asked or told: your child is naughty, or he struggles to read. Maybe he has ADHD. Well, get him on some ADHD medications. And this is happening while they have no idea if it is there or not. Most importantly, because there is a long wait time for psych evaluations, IEP for LD ADHD students in Ontario. But this is not the case only here, because we know globally there is ADHD, LD is a 2/3 comorbidity. And simply put, kids who are showing symptoms of ADHD, they have either learning disability, or people who are on learning disability may have ADHD as well. It's 1 in 10. So if we look around, there's someone around here who would identify themselves with ADHD. But the bigger problem is there's a delay in diagnosis, and just the drugs, trust me, that is not an option. I'm a former professor from School of Medicine at Queen's University. My career was all about drug discovery, and I have seen those molecules closely. And if you have heard Ritalin, exam drug, it sells on campus for $2 or $10 on campus as an exam drug, which is an ADHD drug, Adderall, because the same structure as cocaine, it's just given the smaller quantity. And you don't want your kids to be prescribed ADHD medication when they are only 6-year-old. And that was a passion and motivation for me to leave my tenure track faculty position at Queen's and start Orange Neurosciences. Orange Neurosciences is a machine learning and AI-backed platform for digital cognitive remediation therapy. We are a next generation tech company, and we are trying to redefine the future of pharmaceuticals. We are doing digital diagnostics and digital medicine. So no more this and more about an environment where they will not even realize that they are getting treatment for a condition like ADHD, learning disability, autism, because these are the conditions where you can help them with using a digital software. It's a huge untapped opportunity around the world because over 780 million people are neurodiverse. And this is a riding wave right now. We want to be more inclusive. We want to take everyone along. And there is more and more ask for a digital therapy for all these population. Now, this market is over $250 billion. We have to categorize, and you will see throughout my presentation how we have taken one step at a time. But the biggest problem is that existing traditional standard of care is either inaccessible or it has huge side effects. So what we call standard one-on-one therapy for ADHD kids or somebody with autism, it's expensive. I was told that it's almost $300 an hour. I was counting only $125. Well, and there is a huge delay in diagnosis. Behavioral therapy, we have limited trained practitioners who can deliver that. And if we are in Ontario talking about autism care, we know how difficult it is to provide services to everyone. And let's not even talk about drug intervention. So the solution is a digital health, digital cognitive remediation therapy. We have a proprietary platform. We have already commercialized first product out of this platform called readon.ai. It is already available in 8 countries, and we are helping struggling readers due to learning disability, ADHD, and autism. And the newer one, which is D-Game, has been filed as FDA 510K application in US, and we have filed a CDSCO application in India for as a first prescription software for ADHD. We have already partnered with a mid-sized pharmaceutical company in India, Health and Youth Therapeutic, who have 150 salespeople. And as of 1st of April, we are already in market and trying to provide first digital health solution for ADHD in India right now. So how does it work? It's a SaaS platform. We're a tech company using AI and ML to use the neuroplasticity to improve working memory and executive function. So big organizations, distributors, they have their own platform. It's a full SaaS enterprise level software. Therapists, facilitators, schools, they get their own dashboard. So all the levels from the organization to schools to school board, all the way to the patients and the students, we have a fully complete developed product that is already in use. Well, let's hear for someone who.
Everybody, my name is Matthew Hagen, and I've been doing a read-on program with Ingrid. And during the last couple of months, I have been able to decode words that I couldn't a while ago, and it didn't only help me with my reading. Now I can write better and spell better. I can also read more fluently, and it helped me a lot with my tracking too, because when I used to read, I used to like skip lines or read the same line twice. And yeah, it brought me a long way, this read-on program.
Can you see the passion? Like, it brings me the long way. And this is a long journey for millions of kids, students, and adults around the world who are benefiting. We have already helped 8,000 people. So let's put 50,000 families around the world have already got benefited for this one. I won't go too much in science. I love talking science. I'm a former professor. But just to emphasize upon what we have done, I won't say crack the holy grail. We haven't reinvented the wheel, but we have created a machine learning and AI-based platform that can target our vision, our auditory system, and target them together to improve our working memory and executive function. Remember, we talked about attention deficit and hyperactivity. This is the core where we have the cognition. So the science behind read-on is using software-based therapy, we can improve someone's cognition. And in the process of improving the cognition, we are improving their attention. And once we have improved their attention, we know that there is a natural phenomena to improve the comprehension. We have globally patent protected platform. We highly invested into platform. We know that this is going to change the world for tomorrow for the medicine. Around the world, we are protected as well as trademark, copyright, every possible way. And we definitely kept some proprietary trade secrets in our BI algorithms and processes. Obviously, so as I said, I have bifurcated into EdTech and the healthcare solution. In EdTech, which is already commercial, yes, we do have a competition, but in terms of competition, if you put in a 2x2 matrix, in terms of duration it takes to show the therapeutic benefit and the affordability. Those are the two parameters a family wants to see if they want their child to use a program. So read-on stands tall on the right-hand corner. It takes less time and is really affordable for the families to afford it. We are going to ride this paradigm shifting wave. We are not changing the paradigm because the world is already changing itself. We just want to ride this wave. We want to change the standard of care for entire neurodiverse population on cost, because what they are paying right now for a 1 to 2 hour of therapy, they can do the entire program in that one cost. We are changing from standard of care to personalized medicine. So it's a personalized digital health solution where the BI processes and the algorithm in the back adjusts itself as per if somebody has a visual deficit or auditory deficit and what is causing their learning disability. Truly scalable. We run the company out from a small town, Kingston. I don't know how many of you already know. I know Toronto is center of earth, but Kingston is a small town from where I can run the company around the world. And most importantly, we are addressing the root cause that is causing the core challenges. A business model wise, we have a core platform technology. That's our core technology from which several products would come out. We have already have readon.ai commercial. This is our core focus. We are keeping our head down. Every money that we are raising or we are generating from the revenue, we are increasing the raise for read-on. DG AIM, which is the ADHD program, we want to go as a pharma model, and we are already setting up the distribution network. We have one company, Health and You, in India, and we have another distributor in UAE speaking with us as we speak. And Ella would be for English language. Some of the companies in China and Singapore reached out to us. So there would be differences that we would be creating together. Our target market is B2B, all the institutions where they are providing the occupational therapy, speech therapist, developmental psychologist, and end users could be entire neurodiverse population. Anyone 5 years and above can use this program. Before 5, we don't even believe that people have capacity to run and learn that way, and we can show them the benefits. In terms of revenue stream, we are collecting revenue in all possible ways, from white label to direct to consumer. We launched our readon.ai as a freemium model. Everyone, therapists get a 1 year free, but they have to pay for each licenses. But after 1 year, 365 days, a monthly subscription fee also kicks in. So there's a both recurring revenue and there is a transactional revenue as well. And we get from the student price as well as distribution. As I said, subscription SaaS model anywhere from $7,500 to $400. As I said, very affordable at this time. Decent margins from 50 to 85%, depending on if we are going with a distributor or we are going straight. And monthly platform subscription. And because we invested heavily into tech, we can do all onboarding and trainings right here from Kingston, and we have very less cost in training people as well. So we have a global outreach with a minimum overheads. Very defined go-to-market strategy we have. We validated our product with B2B model. Schools and clinics took the product, did the product, but as we are maturing into our next stage of scaling, we want to do directly to our therapists and psychiatrists, but we are going to raise money hopefully later this year when we would be expanding into our direct-to-consumer model as well. We have multiple channels. It's a tech. We have an API. It can get integrated. During the finals previous round, we didn't have the slide because just this week, we signed up with GoSeco, which has 1 million students in India. They have an online system for grade 10, 12 students who are preparing for their high school and the board exams in India. So they now want to put so that they can show. So this is a big win for us. We just got 1 million students who would be using this through the GoSeco platform. We have a strong traction. Well, let's face it, last 2 years, we are going to count as a blip year or blip 2 years. We were launching into 2019, and now we are going out again in 2022. So we have 3 distribution partners. We have hundreds of, call them franchisees, read-on centers at this time, and 475 therapists have been trained so far. We did around $520,000, or just, I would say, number sounds good, $500,000 in revenue in last couple of years, which 350,000 came only in last year. And we have won several awards throughout the competition, and this is pleasure that I'm back at TideQuest as well. We have a very strongly defined roadmap for each platform, how we would use. For learning disability and dyslexia, read-on is already commercialized. It's a commercial product. The next one for ADHD, the commercial consumer model is already active, but the clinical trials are ongoing to come as a prescription software that we will start in June 2022, but our consumer model has already been introduced in India. And then we are working on autism, dementia, as well as stroke rehabilitation as well. So we raised around 300,000. It was fully bootstrapped. Me and my co-founder put the initial money, and 2 investors, angels, who really wanted to put money because they saw this was a good deal. And we were supported by Microsoft's BizSpark program. That 360,000 US went a long way in establishing ourselves. And the recent win of strategic partnership with Health and Youth Therapeutic, where they have put $1.5 million in the company in kind to pay for all the clinical trials that is happening in India right now. So we have a plan to raise around $5 to $7 million by later this year. And we have a defined exit goals as well as goal that we want to reach. We want to finish our complete ADHD trial, launch in UAE. We'll go with the global distribution with each country having a different distributor for the pharma. And we will keep read-on centrally to distribute from the main channel done from Canada itself. Obviously, it gives both tangible and the social value, but we have full goal. And Jeff, thank you for saying that maybe in next 5 years, we would be there at the unicorn stage, but we have a potential that we think we are able to do that. And our business plan as well as numbers have been put in such manner that there is a strong potential that we would do that. I'm a serial entrepreneur in MedTech. I've had 2 companies in past. I was a finalist in 2015, never made it to the MedTech. But my friend Dave, who is a charter member of TI Los Angeles, and we co-founded the company. He is a tech behind it. I'm the science behind it. We have Siham, who is introducing and putting all the AI algorithms in core. And we are happy that Ritesh, our CFO, who is in the audience today, is managing all the numbers for us and helping us to raise our next round. We are looking for recruiting senior salespeople on the team, but that is only going to be possible once we have raised our next round. Very well supported by a strong team of advisors. I'm not sure if people are from the Delhi area in India. Dr. Shyama Chona is a big name, Padma awardee, who has defined the inclusive education in India. And we are well supported by advisory team, a very strong clinical advisory team. These 4 are the PIs lead our ADHD trial, but we have 20 more psychiatrists in India who are running it. Well, why do we want to invest now? Because the timing is right. A massive unmet global need. Development is complete. product is validated. It's a nascent industry ready to explode. And with your support, I'm sure we can turn the future of pharmaceutical. My name is Vinay Singh, and I'm here to change the future of digital medicine. And thank you all for attention.
Great presentation. Judges, who's got the first question? We've got 5 minutes.
Thank you so much for your presentation. That was great. I know some of the advisors on the slide that you just showed. That was wonderful. I'm a mother and my child has autism. And so my son is 6 years old. And how can you explain the outcomes that you've achieved so far with children with autism and ADHD and learning disabilities, et cetera? And you talked about children ages 5 and above using the solution plus a number of therapists. How do you package that together? How do you get this in front of that particular audience?
Okay, so in Canada, we are very, very slow. We have families in Canada who are using it. I learned very early on that it was a difficult process to get into hands of people. For a 6-year-old, in terms of seeing the benefits, as you know, spectrum is a wide spectrum. Depending on the needs, we have data and result to show the changes into the sensory needs. We have changes into, so because the way this digital cognitive therapy works, it is creating those neuronal connections that doesn't exist or they're too close, and we can go in science and spectrum. But so easier readout for us was if someone was on spectrum and there were some behavioral needs, we saw the reduction in that. We just published a paper in the International Journal of Pediatrics to show the behavioral changes into autism spectrum. So it was a small cohort study, but we're going to run that. In terms of someone on spectrum, the easiest in for us was to show that if they can comprehend the instructions. So we use the Vanderbilt essay, which is established parent rating scale. So we use the parent rating scale. How are they performing in the school? What do parents think? Are they taking the instructions? So after the 3 rounds of, so each session is 1 hour, 30 hours is 1 cycle. 2 cycles later, we are able to measure if they are able to take those instructions. Do they really calm them down? Are they able to read? So some of those readouts have already been established and validated.
Do you have a slide that you can show us on like outcomes that you've achieved so far?
Yes. So these are a couple of tests. This was done in Philadelphia. So this was specifically done for a learning disability and ADHD. I have a one for the autism as well. So this, what you are seeing is using the standardized Pearson clinical test for Woodcock, where word identification, word attack, passage comprehension is from the baseline. Everything is a change. This was a 12-student study using the Gray oral test. This was a different data. Again, they were all done using the Pearson Clinical's third-party test. This one is the unpublished one that I'm talking about, is the autism study, where we did the hitting the self themselves. How are the changes happening? This was a 1-year study, a 10-year-old on autism in Bahrain. It was done in a supervision under a psychiatrist. And so kicking, grabbing people. So all those different parameters that were on the Vanderbilt. And what you are seeing is dark gray to lower gray is the reduction from the beginning of the study to the lower of the program.
And I'm sorry, I have one more question.
Happy to chat more, but yes.
Have you done any of the studies here in Ontario in Canada?
I would love to start.
Okay, thank you.
I'll reach out to you.
Thanks for a wonderful presentation, Vinay. Just competition, and we don't have much time, so you could just tell us about your competition and barriers to entry. How do you prevent new players in the to compare from competing with you?
So competition in terms of ADHD medication is only one right now. FDA has first given the first approval for Achilles and
for your software. For your competition for your software. I mean.
For the software.
Yeah.
This is the software.
So what I'm saying, how do you prevent competition? Who's the competitors in the market today?
That's what I'm saying. So competition right now is a company called Fast Forward, which has just got acquired by another company. They were our competition, but they just got acquired. The competition, the way we differ is we have a patented and patent pending solution, which works very different from what is out there. And how we are competing and protecting ourselves to get eaten up is by first to market as well as protected by the patents. Our competition, which is what I was going to answer, was Achilles Endeavor. That has been very well defined, and we are using a very different approach to treating the same condition. So like for cancer, you have 20 different drugs. For breast cancer, for ADHD, Endeavor is first digital therapy, and DGM is going to be very, very different, which is patent protected.
No hockey stick, but I gotta cut it off.
Find me there. I'll be at the water or the something closer to water. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great presentation. Judges, please start judging. We've got a few minutes to let you do that. And our next presenter is Marlo. Nadia and Simone, let me get the screen going here. Marlo. I got the hang of it. So just give them a couple minutes and then we'll get started.
Yeah. Just kind of chilling in the background. So nice and still right out. There's the lawn. I love this look. I know, so cute. Mhm. Just kidding. Just kidding. Good to go.
So we have Simone and Nadia from Marlow. So you've got 15 minutes.
Great. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. I'm Simone, and I'm joined by my co-founder, Nadia. And we're building Marlow, the first one-stop shop for refreshing and shame-free menstrual and sexual wellness products. The world has changed, and yet the $51 billion menstrual product market really hasn't kept up. We're at a pivotal time now where there's been a rise in mindful menstruation. Pinterest quoted this as one of their top trends to watch in 2022, and we know that Gen Z consumers are looking to optimize all areas of their health and wellness, and this is the new category that they're lending a lot of focus to. We've seen examples with 444% increase in Google searches for feminine health tips, as well as a lot of big brands like Sephora and Bloomingdale's really embracing this new space. It's a large market valued at over $50 billion, and it's only expected to grow. In the last month, Sephora and Bloomingdale's launched new segments entirely in the sexual wellness category. Menstruators also have their period for over 39 years. This results in a really exciting opportunity for the lifetime value of our consumers, as well as a really interesting cycle where we're able to acquire a customer early on at their first period, where they form a lot of loyalty. And then there's key stages at which people change their purchasing habits in this space, all the way until parents recommend a product to their child and this cycle continues. Who and what will define the menstrual care industry of the future? We are set on being that category defining brand, and we're able to do this with three main ways, and they all come together to really create that advantage. Firstly, we have first to market innovation that's never been seen or done before, a modern and inclusive brand that's really different from the status quo that's out there on retail shelves, and direct to consumer engagement and a community that's really driving a lot of our innovation. And we're able to build really personalized relationships with our consumers in a way that large players like P&G aren't able to because they have the middleman, the retailer. This started when my co-founder went to the gynecologist and described the pain she felt using traditional tampons and how it really limited her in her daily life, especially when she was leading an active lifestyle. She also felt limited by her other option of using pads, and her doctor told her to spit on her tampon to make it easier to insert. That shock factor blew away our team, and we thought there must be a better way to do this. And we turned to the internet and we learned that thousands of people were feeling the same problem and looking for a better solution. We also interviewed over 200 menstruators, and we learned that over 86% of them experienced discomfort or pain for a variety of reasons, from general anxiety to vaginal dryness, to a light flow, especially at the beginning or end of their cycle, or due to a variety of medical conditions. Our solution in our first flagship product is the first lubricated tampon kit. This has never been done before, and we've engineered a really unique application method. We've engineered a cross-slit valve, and to help you visualize it, I often compare it to the top of a McDonald's soda cup where you would put a straw in. It's a similar mechanism, but it's made of a softer silicone, and it makes it a really easy, mess-free process. We heard from our customers, they did not want to be doing arts and crafts in the bathroom stall. Some of them were already trying to hack this solution at home, but they felt it was really unhygienic and messy. And our tampons themselves are more environmentally sustainable than the ones on the market currently. We have a bio-based plastic applicator, 100% organic cotton, and a compostable wrapper. Our lubricant is water-based, and we've vetted our ingredients really well with our team of medical advisors. 93% of users who have tried the product would recommend it to a friend, and we've received raving reviews from all our customers about how this has made a real difference. Even people who didn't think that they need the lubricant, once they tried it, said that they would never switch back. We've also used the product with many pelvic physiotherapists and gynecologists, and they really vouch for the need for this product on behalf of the hundreds to thousands of customers they see annually.
So to date, we raised our first round, which is 500K in pre-seed financing. And with that financing, we were able to bring this product to market. It's a class 2 medical device. So we were able to complete the necessary testing to get it approved by both Health Canada and the FDA. We've also placed all of the operational foundations in place to be able to scale this product. So we already have our contract manufacturers. We have a third-party logistics partner who does all of the fulfillment for us, and they're prepared to grow operations with us and handle really large order volumes. We also know we have a great product now that we've been able to give it to people and have people use the product. We have a 0.9% churn rate. So once people try it, they're staying on for a long time and they love the product. Since December, when we launched the product, we've only spent $4,500 in marketing, and we've been able to generate over $20,000 in revenue with that marketing spend. It's been growing 2 times month over month, so it's a really exciting product to watch. And we've been growing on TikTok, especially with this demographic. It's a product that they feel really authentic talking about on that platform. And so we've gotten over 20 million views, 1.8 million likes. People are really loving and excited about the product. And we've also built a community of over 27,000 menstruators through our education. So we know that this is not just a product, this is an entire space and an entire movement that's building. So we want to be able to be at the forefront of this movement with not only with products, but also with the education side. Which we've achieved a CAC of $20 and an average order value of 32. So we've already created a sustainable customer acquisition model, and we're growing our email list as well to continue to build that relationship with our customers. Our business model is direct to consumer. So on our end, that results in recurring revenue, and it perfectly matches the menstrual cycle. So for the customer, that automatic renewal really solves the fear of running out of product. It's the worst feeling when you get your period and you have to make that last minute awkward trip to the store because you forgot to restock, whereas our subscription will automatically come and you'll already have your product stocked. So customers are really valuing the convenience aspect. And then we're also able to collect data and analytics to truly understand our customers' cycles, to personalize their experiences and get their feedback firsthand. Whereas larger companies like Procter & Gamble have the middleman like shoppers as the retailer, so they can't build the community and build that personalized relationship with the customer. We also have a really unique go-to-market strategy. We're building the modern Gen Z and inclusive brand. We don't refer to our customers as women. We refer to it as menstruators to be inclusive to anyone who might menstruate. In terms of our customer funnel, we've been doing awareness through TikTok and mission-driven press. So we've been able to get a lot of brand awareness through that strategy in an organic way. We then see that some people will purchase, but some people will join and need to be nurtured through our education before they convert. So they either join the email list or they'll join our Instagram community. And once they see some of this value add content about menstrual health, about how to take care of themselves on their period, then they'll start to purchase the product. They'll then subscribe to our brand and they'll stay on because we have that 0.9% churn rate. And then they start to even become advocates of the brand and refer it to their friends and family. And that's really the underlying magic here at Marlowe. We have cost-effective acquisition through TikTok, through press who are really looking to write about this space, to write about female founders, and also partnerships with micro-influencers. So people in the lifestyle space, people in menstrual and sexual health who are looking to talk about products and to talk about this space. They have really engaged followings who look up to them. So we're able to partner with them, get our product out there through their communities as well. And as we mentioned, we've been taking a really community-driven approach to our product. So it's a brand-first company. Customers don't just use our Marlowe products, they join the overall educational mission that we have. So reading our blog, reading our emails, reading our Instagram, they see that there is an overall movement around this space. And then they become loyal advocates for the brand. So we get tons of messages like the one in the middle where people felt that they were broken, they felt insecure, they couldn't imagine why they were going through this. And then they saw our product, they saw that we're opening up the conversation, we're tackling these stigmatized topics, and it made them feel so normal and they were really appreciative of it. They then share it on their stories, on their social media, they use our referral program. So it's really exciting to see them spread the word for us in an organic way. And we also have strong margins. So our margins are over 50% for our product, and the contribution margin also takes into account the shipping to the customer. And then these will only continue to improve. So this is with our first orders with our manufacturers, but we've already discussed with them how this will continue to decrease the costs as we place larger order volumes with them. To date, we've completed all of our product development and our lab testing. We raised our first financing round. We also took part in an accelerator, the Next 36 accelerator, received those Health Canada approvals and launched the product in market. So now we're at a point where we're really excited to grow. We know that we can continue to spread our awareness in the US by doing more partnerships with micro-influencers there, by doing some paid ad campaigns in the US as well. We want to introduce pads to become a one-stop shop and be convenient for any menstrual product that you may want to use, as well as continuing to innovate in the pain management space. So we've already seen that consumers are requesting a lubricant for a menstrual cup. So being able to launch that as another way to have a less painful experience when it comes to your period. This is our founding team. Just last week, we were really excited to be recognized as one of the top women leading the modern menstrual health movement. So that was a really exciting accomplishment for us. We have experience in strategy consulting, in asset management, and in brand and community building. But really our biggest strength is that digital marketing and branding experience. We really know this target demographic. We are the target demographic. And so we've been able to build a brand that resonates with the modern consumer organically with our community to date. But we're also backed by an incredible team of advisors that we're lucky to have, people who have experience in retail, experience in the menstrual equity space, in D2C marketing, and even medical professionals. And we were also very excited to be a part of leading accelerators such as Next 36, Startup Canada, the League of Innovators. So they've all been really supportive in our journey and giving us resources, mentors, and even investment. So to date, we are in the process of currently raising our second round, which is a $2 million seed round. And the use of these funds will be for growth marketing. So continuing to grow the brand through TikTok, through paid campaigns, through micro-influencer partnerships. We want to grow our team to add a growth marketer as well as a web developer who can continue to improve our e-commerce store. And then also doing future product development. So allocating some funds for R&D as well. Thank you so much for listening, and we're happy to answer any questions now.
Yeah, I had one question, actually two. Do you have any kind of IP, protection of the intellectual property? That was the first question. Second question, are there any side effect to your product?
Yes, thank you. So for the IP, we have trademarks that we've filed in both Canada and the US. And we also have exclusive right clauses with our manufacturers, so that will avoid any quick copycats that are trying to come to market. We then met with a variety of IP lawyers, and we made the strategic decision after meeting with them to not file a patent. Based on their analysis, with this kind of a consumer product, a larger player could just alter a certain aspect of the application and bring it to market. And so we know really our competitive advantage is more with the brand. They could, at the end of the day, keep bringing us to court and spending so much money in legal fees, which they would be able to win with that. Whereas we know that they're already making acquisitions in this space. So Unilever acquired Dollar Shave Club for over $1 billion. Edgewell acquired Billy, which is another consumer brand. So they're looking to invest in companies that have communities that have data. So instead of spending that money on a patent, we've used that money to continue to grow the brand and to continue to grow the community, which we know will be our advantage. And then on the side effects, we did do testing with a leading Canadian lab on the vaginal irritation, making sure it was safe to use. There was no side effects. It is applied to the applicator, the plastic, not the cotton of the tampon. So it also doesn't affect the absorbency of the tampon in any way. The absorbency was the same with our product and other tampons as well.
I have a quick question about that comparison to Dollar Shave Club. And I was wondering this. So you talked about the size of the total market. Wonderful presentation, by the way. Thank you. You talked about the size of the total market, which is enormous. There's a percentage of that who are going to buy online, and the vast majority are going to continue to go to Shoppers Drug Mart. Just that's the habit. And maybe Dollar Shave Club is a good example. Like what's kind of the proportion of that market that you expect is going to purchase online as a total of the whole, and how does that kind of affect, your growth trajectory?
There's one brand in the US called Lola, and they do direct to consumer tampons as well. And so we recognize that they've really proven out the need for this convenience. People are able to make that transition to buy online. I believe they just raised about $37 million. So they are doing quite well. And so people are willing to make that shift to online purchasing. And what we've recognized is that often education is the trigger for that change. So once people are able to get off autopilot and to recognize, sort of ask themselves questions that they've never thought to ask themselves before, it becomes quite obvious to make that shift. And so we've really used education and humor as a trigger to get people off of autopilot, like you said, that habit of buying at Shoppers and transferring them online.
Thanks for a wonderful presentation. I think there's a huge market. I'm an OB-GYN, so I have a good understanding of your product. I just want to ask two things. Your competitors, what's different from you and your competitors? And number two, you want to raise 2 million. How much are you valuing your company at currently?
So I can take the first one on the competitives. So there's no actual lubricant, there's no other lubricated tampon on the market currently. So this product innovation is first to market. And then on top of it, we also have the community and the education that we're building around our brand, as well as the direct to consumer engagement model. So although there is a company that offers traditional tampons D2C in the US, there's no one that offers the combination of the lubricant, which is first to market, and then that brand. So it's kind of the combination of all three of those pillars.
And we're pitching for the next 3 weeks, and then we'll start accepting term sheets after that point. So happy to chat about valuation offline a little bit more, but it'll be around the $12 million mark.
I guess the only woman on the panel has to ask a question. Great presentation. Like really simple idea. Surprised no one's thought of it yet. Great stuff. What next for your team though? So you put up a great team slide. So there, there's 4, key women. What does this $2 million mean for your company and growing out your team?
There's 2 key hires we want to make. So the first is a growth marketer. So people who have expertise in SEO, in paid ads, who can really boost the paid side of our business because we're doing well with the organic side. And then also a web developer. So we've been identifying different opportunities to increase our conversion rate on our website by doing different A/B tests. So if we were able to have a web developer right now, we do a lot of contract work with web developers, but if we can bring someone in-house to do some of that A/B testing and that conversion rate optimization, that would be really great for our business as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
One suggestion, I don't know if anybody suggested this, but you might want to talk to Clearco. They would like this business model. I mean, that's what they're financing, companies like yours. And I suspect, you could go on Dragon's Den and have Michelle Romano, work both sides, but it seems like it's an interesting fit for them. Mark, why don't you get set up? Judges, please do your thing. I don't know if anybody noticed, but the lights went out. Okay. Just make sure I'm not seeing things. Listen, I thought maybe I was seeing things. It's not going to. Great, thank you. So Steadyware is, some of you have been to previous TyQuest. Steadyware has been a finalist in previous years. So as has Braze Mobility, who's coming up a little later. Just interesting factoid. Oh. Everyone, this is Mark Elias from Steadyware.
Good evening, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be back here at TideQuest. My name is Mark Elias. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Steadyware. And our mission is to restore independence and quality of life to all those who suffer from tremors around the world. Imagine waking up one day not being able to feed yourself, drink a glass of water, or dress yourself. Essential tremor and Parkinson's disease cause debilitating hand tremors that make the simplest daily activities, such as eating, writing, and drinking, a significant challenge. There's also 230 million individuals around the world who suffer from tremors, and 67% of them experience functional disability. There's also a social component to this condition. 60% of individuals with tremors are socially isolated and depressed. Not to mention that 88% of the tremor population is unemployed and forced out of the labor market. And those conditions are simply untenable. Now, let's have a look at the continuum of care. So it starts with a diagnosis at a movement disorder specialist. Now, first and second line pharmacotherapies are usually prescribed. And looking at the literature, it's effective in about 50% of the population. And the upsetting factor here is that even in the population that it works for, individuals are really unhappy with the side effects and are usually looking for alternative solutions that are non-invasive. Now, moving on to the next stage, we have alternative therapies, and they range from weighted objects to other assistive devices. And I'll delve into that really shortly. The final stage, which is usually reserved for severe patients, you have surgery, which is deep brain stimulation. It's highly invasive, risky, it's expensive, and yeah, it's usually reserved for the most severe cases. Now, let's delve into the alternative therapy section a little further. So we have the Liftware spoon, which some of you may have heard of. They were acquired by Google in 2014. They develop a self-stabilizing spoon. It's quite effective for eating. Now, the issue there is that tremors affect a wide array of daily activities. And a one-dimensional solution like this can be helpful, but it's not enough. Secondly, we have Tremelo, a fairly new company that developed an orthotic that helps with arm tremors. However, they don't target the wrist tremor, which is the chief concern. We also have Calatrio, a therapeutic prescription only, works for 1 hour a day and costs $5,000. Now, it is highly effective, but we know that patients require 7 to 9 hours of assistance throughout the day. Finally, we have weighted objects, weighted pens, weighted gloves. It's a fairly common low-tech solution in the space, but at the end of the day, research shows over and over again that it worsens the tremor and causes wrist pain. Now, it's very clear that there's a severe gap in the alternative therapy section for a device that is highly effective, lightweight, and affordable. In 2019, we launched our experimental version, the Steady One. And we learned a great deal from that release and from our 300 customers. Number one, the weight of the device was too heavy, and the new requirement is that it has to weigh under a pound. Secondly, the device has to be very easy to don and adjust. A maximum of 2 steps was defined after gathering feedback. And finally, the main requirement for stabilization occurs during drinking, not to mention the price point, which has to be under $500. Now, some more statistics on our beta release. We saw that 52% of the population experienced improvements in daily living activities, which is a great stat. It's quite close to the gold standard, actually exceeds it a little bit. Now, we saw that 60% of the population said the device was effective, but too heavy. And we really took that seriously. All of that feedback was incorporated into our R&D cycle. And I present to you the next generation, the Steady 2. The Steady 2 is a lightweight, compact, and responsive glove that stabilizes the wrist joint. It uses breakthrough magnetic stabilization technology. Now, the Steady 2 in alpha testing has shown 80% amplitude reduction in tremors, and that is across the entire essential tremor and Parkinson's disease frequency spectrum. And this device is battery-free. It's affordable at under $500. It weighs 0.8 pounds. It's 1 step to wear. It can be used on both hands, and it's easily detachable. this is currently the best-in-class solution for tremors. And you're going to see, I'm going to introduce you to Betty, one of our early adopters.
I'm Betty Faulkner, and I have had essential tremor. The one problem I'd had with it was people would think I was nervous, and people would be saying to me, "Don't be nervous, don't be nervous." And I wasn't nervous. As I got older, into my 50s and 60s, it did become more of a problem. But my biggest issue is my hand shaking, because it stops you from doing things you want to do. And I do jigsaw puzzles, I watch TV, I read, I play games on my iPad. And one thing with the computer is I'm double tapping all the time that I don't want to be, and it's so frustrating. Online, the International Essential Tremor Foundation, they send out an electronic newsletter that's called a Tremogram every month. That is how I found out about Steadyware. When I saw a write-up on it, I immediately got on the phone and phoned them and asked if I could order one. The glove made a difference. I can play games on my computer really much better. Oh, I'm winning. I'm feeling more comfortable. Even the rest of me feels like it's not tremoring as much. And it may very well be, but it doesn't feel as though I am. And there's a magnet here, and I just put it on the magnet. And that's it. That's it.
So those results, what you just saw, that's the reason we're in this business. You know, I think the mic is off. Okay. Yeah, that's the reason we're in this business. And I remember 6 years ago, very clearly, I was visiting my family, and I just saw my grandmother spilling coffee all over her hands. Her tremor had worsened. I hadn't noticed it before. And just the image of that was burned into my memory. And since then, you know, we made it our personal mission to solve this problem. And yeah, it's throughout the company DNA. Now let's delve into the core technology and how it works. So our core tech was inspired by earthquake design. The ancestral technology is called tuned mass damping. So it's really quite simple. It consists of a mass and a spring. And the way it works, the mass moves in the opposite direction of wherever the building's vibrating. So the way that works, that system will target one frequency in one direction, typically. Now, that's not good enough for tremors. Tremors vary in frequency and in directions for each individual, even throughout the day. So what we did is we replaced those springs with custom-made, they're called polymagnets. And we actually turned it into a disc so it can target multiple directions. Now we target multiple frequencies, multiple directions. It is the ideal technological fit to address the tremor problem. And the system is currently patent pending. Now let's look at the worldwide market opportunities. So we have 230 million individuals with tremors around the world, 155 million of which experience functional disability, and 108 million of which are compatible with our device. Now, just titrating those numbers into the North American and European markets, with 10 million total patients in the US, 5 million of which are addressable at a $500 price point. That adds up to a $2.4 billion TAM in the US, translating into a 3.25 billion TAM in Europe. Now, just to provide some context, a study was done by Frost and Sullivan looking at the yearly cost burden of essential tremor in the United States. And shockingly, a $12 billion out-of-pocket expenditure from patients every year was found. And, you know, when you include lost hours from family members helping patients, it adds up to a staggering $80 billion. It's quite an overlooked problem. Now, looking at some business models out there, so the Liftware business model has an e-commerce core, and they use distribution for USX. Looking at Gala Health with a Gala Trio device, they're a prescription-only device. They have an e-commerce core as well, but they're available in select hospitals. So the way SteadyWare is approaching it is through a hybrid model and go-to-market strategy. So we have an e-commerce core. The device will be available for purchase through our web platform, and we'll be using we are using a variety of digital marketing strategies, mainly SEO. And of course, we have optimized, paid ads in Google, as well as a Facebook lead generation strategy. Now, movement disorders hospitals are our second step. So we've secured 3 of the largest movement disorders hospitals in the US, and each of them sees about 13,000 tremor patients a year. Now, our strategy is we've deployed, actually last week, Steady 2 demonstration devices in those 3 hospitals. What happens is the neurologists will send their patients to try the device, and essentially that will create traffic directed to our website. Now, finally, we have a distribution model. An Australian distributor has been secured. We have multiple others in sampling acceptance across Asia, and we do work with Baylis Healthcare, so they distribute exclusively to Veteran Affairs. Now, looking at timeline and value inflection points, this year's target is to hit $1 million in revenue. We're about halfway there. We've completed A/B testing to optimize our growth formula with our e-commerce. On the e-commerce side, we're currently validating the movement disorder hospital strategy. And finally, we've secured 2 distributors already, so we're well on our way to hit our targets for this year. Moving on to 2023, we'll enter the scale-up phase. With many more hospitals secured, 10 distributors around the world, and we start a clinical trial, which will then lead to allow for us to enter the European market in 2024 with 12,000 units sold, and an acquisition in 2025 through a medical device acquirer. Now, looking at the traction we've achieved so far, since our pre-order launch in October of 2021, we've sold 420 units. We secured 3 large movement disorders hospitals, secured 2 distributors, and we closed our $1 million seed round in July of last year. Of course, none of this is possible without our team. My background is in structural dynamics and entrepreneurship. My co-founder Emil's background, who's also our CMO, is in marketing and management. We recently hired Dion Drakes, our growth marketing manager, and of course, Juliette, our marketing coordinator. Now, on our product team, we have Leonardo Araneta, our lead product designer, and we work closely with Dr. Hadi Mohammadi, a professor in vibration mechanics at UBC, as well as his student, Stefan Kamanzi. Looking at our board, we have Charles Plant, our board chair. He's a seasoned serial entrepreneur. He used to be the CFO of Mars as well. We have Patrick McCartney, the executive director of the International Essential Tremor Foundation. Dr. Razek, a movement disorder specialist who focuses on advanced treatments. And finally, Fiona Gao, a full stack marketing specialist. Now, we've reached a critical stage in our company and we need your help. Currently, our core focus is expansion in the US, as well as entering international markets. Now, with your help, we can expedite that process, start our clinical trials, and really bridge the gap to deliver this much needed solution to the world. Thank you.
Presentation, Mark.
Thank you.
Who would like to ask the first question?
Thanks for the presentation, Mark. Great progress.
Thank you.
Wanted to better understand maybe the opportunities for this to be reimbursed by Medicare and I guess US private payers. Can you tell us, I guess, where you are on that journey and maybe what proof points you need to provide to get to that point?
Absolutely. I'll quickly run you through our reimbursement strategy. So right now, our best way forward is to get reimbursement in the NHS in the UK and to collect real world evidence in North America. So essentially, the path to reimbursement in the UK is very clear for us. We know exactly what type of study we need to conduct. It's going to be an RCT with about 100 patients. We've already defined our endpoints with our reimbursement consultants. And currently, we're mapping out neurologists in the UK. We have to conduct the study there to take this forward. Naturally, what happens is in the NHS, it really is the gold standard. If we get it through there, then it becomes much easier to enter other European jurisdictions and get that reimbursed. That's going to be supported by real world evidence in the US. And that's our strategy. And that's going to be also one of the focuses of our next fundraising round. Yeah.
Sorry, maybe just one more follow-up question there. I think you mentioned a competitor that it does not sell through direct-to-consumer channels, but it's rather maybe something that is prescribed.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how that contrasts with maybe your approach here, where I appreciate a direct-to-consumer channel, maybe a faster way to get initial sales and consumer adoption, but is there the benefit of having this device prescribed by doctors? Is there some sort of maybe reputational benefit associated with that, or are you not seeing that play out as a headwind for SteadyWear?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, for us, with our current price point, it doesn't make sense to have this prescribed and reimbursed in North America specifically. Right now, we're really exploring the neurology community in the US, and we've received incredible feedback. Even neurologists who are using the Gala Trio, who are prescribing it, they showed strong interest in the study too, and they actually hold it in their clinics because at the end of the day, price point is a big problem. With Gala Trio, even pushing this through reimbursement, which we're monitoring their progress really closely, the price point of getting the Gala Trio, even if it's reimbursed with a copay, the Study 2 is still going to be a more cost-effective option with similar efficacy. Yeah.
Thanks for a wonderful presentation, Mark.
Thank you.
Just can you remind me the cost of the product for the consumer?
Yes.
And the cost to you as the company and the margins.
So right now, our retail price is going to be $500. Our cost of goods, landed cost of goods, is $100 flat. So that leaves us with an 80% e-commerce margin. Through distributors, it's 66%.
This is a huge market, obviously, especially with the aging population globally. I didn't understand why you were targeting the NHS in the UK. I didn't quite understand that.
Yeah, I'll elaborate in more detail. So for us to get covered by Medicare in the US, we would have to be a higher risk class device. That's been established with our consultants. We would have to move our device up to a class 2 and become a home use device to actually get this covered by Medicare. So actually the best from that information, we looked at the NHS, and they actually have in their coding a place for our device. So it really makes the most sense to go after that strategy rather than increasing our risk class, going after a home use device in the US, which would extend our pipeline by years and millions of dollars.
Do you know whether this will work in patients with Parkinson's, or is it just essential tremors that you're working on?
Yeah, so right now, this solution works for both. Now, naturally, what we learned is that the essential tremor frequency spectrum and Parkinson's disease frequency spectrum do have an overlap, but there are extreme cases where in Parkinson's disease where the tremor frequency is too low and it won't work for them. And that represents about 30% of the Parkinson's population.
Mark, great presentation, but unfortunately,
thank you so much.
Time is up. So thank you. Okay, judges. So our next presentation is virtual. Probably going to need some help here. Switching to Zoom 1 hour. Zoom. That's it. That's it. So that's great. Okay, everyone, we're ready to get started with our next presentation. So please take your seats, or at least be quiet. Our next presentation is another TiQuest veteran, Braze Mobility, and Pooja is going to do her presentation. Are you there, Pooja?
Yep, I'm here. Can you see me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So, and we can see you. So whenever you're ready, get started, and you've got 15 minutes. And good luck.
Great, thank you. Hi, everyone. Meet David Watson. David had been using a power wheelchair for several years, but 3 years ago, staff at his facility were about to take his powered wheelchair, his only means of independent mobility, away from him. You see, David needs to drive in a tilted position and often has trouble seeing things. And so he was having accidents. Staff felt they needed to choose David's autonomy or the safety of everyone in the home. This is not just David's story. According to a report, 20% of power mobility device users experience at least one major collision within a year, and 11% of these users are hospitalized. Accidents like these result in exclusion from the use of power mobility devices altogether, even when no other option for independent mobility exists. I saw this as a violation of a fundamental human right and co-founded Braze Mobility, where we've developed the world's first blind spot sensors for wheelchairs. Our product restores dignity and independence back to the user, reduces caregiver reliance and stress, decreases property damage, and increases safety, not only for the user, but others in the environment as well. So why now? Well, because most cars we drive today already have sensors that have been mandated in the automotive industry. Why shouldn't wheelchair users have the same right to peace of mind and safety? Our blind spot sensors can be added to any wheelchair, transforming it into a smart wheelchair. Our system provides feedback regarding the location and proximity of obstacles through intuitive lights, sounds, and vibration. My name is Pooja Vishwanathan, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Braze Mobility. I have a PhD in assistive technology and robotics, have worked at Honda Research Institute, and have been leading smart wheelchair research and international collaborations for over a decade. My co-founder, Dr. Alex Mihalaides, is an internationally recognized leader in aging and technology and has over 150 peer-reviewed publications in this space. Terrence Ho has led customer experience strategy at Bombardier and assistive technology companies and is a family caregiver to his brother who uses the powered wheelchair. David Beckett is a graduate from the mechatronics engineering program and has expertise in industrial design and manufacturing. And Alan Boyd is an industry veteran with over 25 years of experience. He has experienced successfully negotiating OEMs and has had 2 successful exits to the largest wheelchair manufacturer in the United States. We have wheelchair users on our team that help drive our innovation forward, pun intended. The mobility aids market is over $1 billion, and our entrance market is nearly 4 million wheelchair users, up to 91% of whom can benefit from smart wheelchairs, according to researchers at the US Department of Veterans Affairs. We have a patent granted in the US and patent pending in Europe and Asia. We have vast connections with clinicians who are the gatekeepers of assistive technology. Our system is highly adaptable to the varying needs of our users at no additional manufacturing cost to us. We've had tremendous success with funding, particularly with Medicaid, state Medicaid programs. In fact, we've had over 80% of reimbursement success. And finally, we have traction among the key the few key leaders in this space, and I'll talk about that soon. Combined, all of these together give us set up very high barriers to entry for our competitors. As of the end of 2021, we had generated over 200K in revenue, selling more than 150 units, with our largest customer being the US Department of Veterans Affairs. Just for reference, the MSRP for our most popular system is around $3,000 USD, which is about 10% of the cost of the power wheelchair. We're also an approved supplier of the largest dealers in North America, giving us over 60% access to market share and over 700 reps across the US. We're currently negotiating with an additional partner that will give us an added 30% market share access. Now, I'm going to be sharing some of the partnerships that we've just finalized just within the first quarter of this year. And I have to say, I'm really proud of the team and what we've accomplished, especially with COVID in the last couple of years. We actually launched a very difficult time, just a couple of months before the COVID lockdowns. And we've still seen plenty of success, and some of these partnerships will really show that. And so I'm really proud of the team, and here we go. So onward and upward. In Q1 of 2022, the first partnership we have here is with the US Veterans Affairs. So we were a collaboration challenge winner of the Breaking Boundaries Challenge. And we were the company with the most number of bids from 6 different VA hospitals. So through this partnership, we will continue collaborating with them throughout the year on our current products, as well as future products as well. Now, what does the VA sales channel look like for us? We are currently already in a dozen sites. There are over 2,000 sites across the US. We access the VA through our independent sales reps. We have sales reps in over 30 states that have established VA connections. We give them 10% in commissions. Now, in terms of selling to a VA site for the first time, it typically takes us a couple of weeks, but after that, we get immediate payment for every individual sale. You will notice gross margins. I have set up some, or the great, our friends there at Atai have actually set up some one-pagers for you at your desk. So if you can flip them over, you will see our gross margins for each of the channels that I'm going to be talking about. And you'll see that the Veterans Affairs offers us our highest gross margins. Now, the second partnership we formed this quarter is a partnership with NewMotion, which is the #1 complex rehab provider in the US. What this partnership means is that they'll actually be investing in demo units for reps across the country. We're currently in the process of training over 400 reps who will, at the end of this, be certified to sell our product. Here's some more details about this sales channel. So here, the biggest part of the sales cycle is actually in funding approval. What we're seeing is an average of 60 days, and most often we've seen Medicaid funding. Now, we've seen Medicaid approval as quick as 10 days as well, but I've put down an average of 60 days based on what we're seeing so far. But really, the great advantage with working with NewMotion is that we are actually able to tap into government reimbursement because they are a durable medical equipment provider. And so again, once you'll see on the gross margins on the one-pager, we do give up a little bit of our gross margins here in exchange for much higher volumes in sales. We get installation and ongoing support through NewMotion, and our payment terms are net 30. And then the last partnership that we finalized in the first quarter is with Sunrise Medical Canada. Sunrise Medical is a leading global leader in wheelchair manufacturing. This partnership gives them first to market OEM access. They've already purchased demo units. And really what we're seeing this partnership is really as a pilot for an OEM agreement that we hope to finalize with Sunrise Medical in the US and globally. And here with this particular sales channel, we see net 30 payment terms. And again, you can see gross margins on our one-pager. So through these 3 partnerships that we've finalized in this quarter, we're anticipating 6x revenue growth compared to last year. And now we're currently negotiating OEM agreements with pretty big players that are world leaders in wheelchair manufacturing. In fact, there's 3 leaders that are simultaneously negotiating with us right now. We hope to achieve 20% revenue growth through finalization of this OEM agreement. And we've got more in the pipeline. Later this year, we'll roll out our data analytics platform, which will revolutionize wheelchair training and assessment and help us create more accessible cities through smart mobility, which will create additional revenue streams such as joint development contracts, data monetization, and even subscription models. We have currently an interested partner that is wanting to purchase 50 demo units for a smart city pilot in the city of Los Angeles. So through this, we will get to validate and explore some of the business models that I just mentioned for our data analytics platform. Additionally, we're also planning to launch into some of our overseas markets. We're starting with Australia and New Zealand. We're currently just finalizing some distributors there. If we win the challenge today, I'm sure you're curious about how we use the money. We will use this for tooling, for scaling up manufacturing, certifications to help us go into our markets overseas, and to help bring on some support with customer support to meet the demand that we're going to be seeing through all of these partnerships we formed and some of the partnerships that are that we will be signing soon. Some of the in-kind benefits or in-kind contributions that we can really benefit from right now are their IP protection, accounting, and shred. As for David, this is him just a few months ago, still driving his power wheelchair. With our blind spot sensors, David has independent mobility and dignity. Staff is able to give David his autonomy without needing to compromise on safety. David's friend and advocate has peace of mind, because at Braze, we believe mobility is a fundamental human right, not a privilege. In summary, we're solving a significant problem that affects millions of wheelchair users. We're the first company globally to provide a practical and affordable solution to this problem. Through our developing partnerships, we have the potential to enhance every wheelchair in North America and the world. We have a strong team that's internationally recognized in the area of smart wheelchairs with a proven track record. And we have traction among key players, including the Veterans Affairs in the US. But most importantly, we're passionate about creating a more accessible world. Thank you so much, and I'm happy to take questions.
That was great, Pooja. You're getting applause from the audience here. So great presentation. I want you to know that I've been following Pooja, gotta be for 4 or 5 years, before this was a concept and before there was a product. And it's just really amazing to see the progress, and congratulations on the traction that you've achieved. Judges, who wants to ask the first question?
Thank you for the great presentation. I wonder if you could just describe to us briefly where you're manufacturing and how much of the manufacturing is insourced versus, you know, your reliance on third parties.
Yeah, so different parts of our different components of our system are manufactured in different places. So some our plastics, for example, are actually manufactured overseas in China and Taiwan. The electronics are all manufactured in North America, so US and Canada. We're currently assembling everything locally. We have some contractors as well as some in-house assembly. This is probably the first thing that we would be looking to contract out as we continue to scale. But right now we're really trying to keep a lean sort of inventory just in time. And as we scale, we'll start to contract different pieces. A lot of the contract manufacturers that we're working with on specific components are actually fully certified contract manufacturers. So at any point, we can pull the trigger with them and they can actually serve as our contract manufacturers for the whole product as well. We do have some redundancies built in because of the supply chain issues with COVID right now. And so we have sort of Canadian, US, and Asian manufacturers, depending on lead times and volumes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pooja, for a great presentation. I want to ask your competitors, what separates you from your competitors, and how there's 2 things you highlighted. One was about patents, and I just wanted to expand on that. And 2, what are your barriers to entry?
Yes, so we are currently the only sensor technology of this kind, and that actually provides multimodal alerts and is fully customizable. The patents are nice to have, and they certainly help with our protection. But really what we see as our barriers to entry is our strategic partnerships. There's very few key players that essentially dominate the market, and by strategically aligning with them, and that it's not actually easy to partner with these players. We're one of the few startups and sort of smaller companies that have been able to manage some of these partnerships. The other question we often get asked is what's stopping a wheelchair manufacturer from building this technology? Because we see them as potentially the biggest competitors. And the reason is that they really don't have the bandwidth. They have a very, very small amount of money that's allocated to R&D, and they're typically focused really on their bread and butter, which is the seating and of the wheelchair itself. And so it's very typical for them to partner with companies like us, first working on OEM type partnerships and then eventually acquiring. So that's a path that we see as well. And so our barriers of entry really is a combination of the IP, of the incredible amount of adaptability and customization that we offer, as well as all of our strategic partnerships. The funding success is also not trivial. To have had over 80% reimbursement success for a product that's not coded is also a really great accomplishment.
Thank you, Pooja, for a great presentation. The question I have is around the other aspect that you presented about the experiment that you have in Los Angeles. What the digital dimension? What kind of doors do you see opening for your business compared to the traditional? I mean, not traditional, but your core business about the obstacle detection.
Yeah, so really my vision is that what we're trying to do right now is just commoditize the hardware, right? And having this hardware on every wheelchair would then allow us to tap into the sort of subscription model and data analytics that we can get through different revenue streams. And so I think the pilot in LA will really help us explore that. What we're looking to do there is initially they're interested in just getting our hardware as it is, but we're looking to provide them with data around accessibility of cities, for example. I think one really great thing that cities are looking for is where are people going, and more importantly, where are wheelchair users not going, because that says a lot about the accessibility of cities. And so those are the types of applications that we're working on. There's a lot more in the works, but that's just one particular application. Another application that we're working on in partnership with Team Gleason, which is a foundation that serves ALS clients, is looking at data on how they're using their joysticks or alternative drive controls, because it is a degenerative condition. And so that sort of data is not only helpful to these sort of advocacy groups and clients, but also to the sellers of this technology, because it can give them an indication of when to provide the right type of technology to their clients, especially ones with degenerative conditions. So that's just scratching the surface for you, but those are the types of applications we're looking at.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Pooja, thank you so much for your presentation. I thought it was great. I do understand the wheelchair market and that it is dominated by a few key players, and that's wonderful that you have Sunrise Medical that you've started working with, and the other strategic partners such as the VA, et cetera. And you did mention that you're in several conversations right now with the others or some of the other big players in the sector. Do you have another avenue that you're looking to pursue as well in parallel to those conversations? Because those organizations are not easy to work with, and it is difficult to, I guess, secure a formal relationship with them.
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now what we're seeing, and it's true, some of these partnerships have taken a really long time. I think what we're seeing right now is we're at a very interesting time in the market right now. And really it's because there's been a lot of awareness around sensor technologies in just the last year. And I think with the heightened awareness around sensors in cars, the wheelchair manufacturers are now recognizing that this is the time. It has to happen now. Consumers are demanding this sort of technology. And so really the way that they're looking at this technology is no longer, this is just something for a niche set of wheelchair users. They're really looking at this as standard technology that's going on every single wheelchair. And the way that we're working through these partnerships is we're phasing it out so that we'll initially start with it just as is on the order form, but we're already starting discussions on integrating our system right into the chairs. So that's the conversations that are happening in the complex rehab space. These discussions are moving surprisingly fast. Sunrise, for example, Sunrise Medical Canada took us 2 months to actually from start to end to finalize that agreement. And so some of the other things we are looking at in parallel is also outside of the complex rehab space. So things like scooters, non-medical devices. And we are seeing demand for that as well, manual wheelchairs and scooters. So not just the high-end complex rehab, but some of the other non-medical devices as well.
Well, Pooja, thank you for your presentation. Unfortunately, we're out of time, so good luck. And judges, do your thing, and we'll get ready for the next presentation in a couple minutes, which is our last presentation. Hi, Ashish, can you hear me?
Hi, Jeff. Yes, I can.
Okay, we're just, the judges are doing their thing, so we'll probably start in about 3 minutes or so, so just sit tight. Do you want to share your screen so we can?
I just did. Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see it. That's great. Thank you. So judges, are we ready? Okay, great. Ashish Anand from Workforce Wellness. Are you ready?
Yes, certainly.
Okay, fire away. I don't know how to turn the volume down, but go ahead.
All right, thanks. I hope I'm not coming across too loud. Hello, judges. Hello, fellow panelists. My name is Ashish Anand. I'm the founder and CEO of Workforce Wellness. Before I start, I just wanted to quickly thank TI Toronto for putting on this competition, allowing us to be a part of it. Wanted to thank the sponsors, Fasken, a number of others, the hosts there, the fellow panelists. Wanted to congratulate them for making it to this round. and wish them the very best on their ventures. As Jeff mentioned, my name is Ashish Anand. I'm the founder and CEO of Workforce Wellness. We're a Vancouver-based enterprise software company focused on helping employers meet new needs that their employees are presenting. Our motto is a better workplace without the work. It speaks to the heart of what we do, which is making it easy for employers to roll out wellness solutions without actually having to do anything. We leverage automation to do that. I'd just like to start very quickly by introducing my team. We're really fortunate to have attracted some really strong talent. As I mentioned, we're an enterprise software company. We're a SaaS company. So having a team that has experience building out large enterprise solutions, implementing them, deploying them in large complex environments, integrating with existing systems, knowing how to market and sell to large enterprises was really key, and was really fortunate to attract a number of really strong players. And we've been together for the last 2 years. We were founded in early 2020. And since then, have been working really hard to build out our platform, which I'm going to share with you today. The core problem that we're addressing is unless you're kind of in the HR world, it's actually hard to know what's actually happening in the workplace. But employers are having a lot of challenges, and they fall into 5 different areas. One is there's a whole bunch of new workplace safety regulations. They vary by state and province, but those are causing employers to meet new workflows or create new workflows, new record keeping requirements. There's a number of new things they have to do that they didn't have to do in the past. What they're also dealing with is operational challenges with shortages of employees, labor shortages. They're dealing with engagement issues. Some of these have been happening for the last 5 years, but COVID has really accelerated a number of these trends. They're also having a problem with attrition and retention. You might have heard of the Great Resignation. Over 20 million people have quit their jobs since last May. There's a massive shift going on in the workplace. COVID has accelerated other trends that relate to mental health. So there's a greater need to provide mental health support for employees, especially those that are actually suffering from isolation and depression as a result of COVID and working from home. Employee expectations have changed as well. There's a lot more millennials in the workforce. They have a different value set. They care about well-being more. And so all of this combined has created a unique set of challenges for employers that they're having trouble addressing with their existing solutions. It's not us sort of saying this. We sort of saw this trend early in 2019 and started working on it in 2020. Last year, for the first year, we didn't really see a lot of evidence, but then we saw Salesforce, ServiceNow, SAP, some of the largest, Microsoft, some of the largest companies in the world jump into this new wellness category. And so that was really the cue for us that we were onto a new trend, and there was going to be creation of a new category. A report that just came out 2.5-3 weeks ago from Microsoft Research really emphasized this was the #1 finding, that employees are prioritizing their health and well-being over everything else. And that further report talks about how they are looking for employers that also value their well-being. There's a lot of research that's come out in the last 6 months from HR Executive to Accenture, McKinsey, Gartner, Forrester. All of the large influencers and analysts who are watching this space are also seeing the same thing. We think we're on the cusp of something pretty big in terms of what's happening in the enterprise as it relates to how employees are managed. We're working on a market that is already globally worth just under $50 billion. It's part of a broader wellness economy that is worth 10 times that, over 10 times that. We're starting our focus on organizations that have a number of compliance needs as it relates to workplace safety, with kind of a land and expand model, which I'll talk about in a moment. But there are a lot of organizations that are shifting into not just for compliance needs, but are starting to look at solutions like ours to address the needs that they have. The really key part that I wanted to emphasize is that our positioning in the market allows us to tap into other markets. So becoming the bridge for employees to be able to access other care providers and wellness service providers, that's the real opportunity. Our solution, the solution we've developed to help enterprises is a turnkey solution. It's a holistic wellness platform for enterprises to be able to extend wellness offerings to their employees. It's comprised of, we're a technology company, so we really have taken a very technology-driven approach to solve this. There's a dashboard for HR or operators within the company. There's a lot more well-being officers and nurses, and there's a whole kind of new department in many large organizations called wellness and well-being or employee well-being. It's designed for them. There's a cloud component. This is a HIPAA compliant infrastructure we've developed to actually handle all of the data storage, all of the record verification, all of the scaling requirements. And then there's an employee app, which is a mobile app for iOS and Android that really simplifies the onboarding and enrollment process. Our solution is in market as of the last few months. Late last year is when we launched. It's a SaaS model, so there's recurring revenue. I'll be talking about that. Our revenue is growing. We're up 7x from all of last year, and we're only in the 4th month of the year. We have a robust pipeline, which I'll talk about as well. And in terms of what we have developed as a solution, we have the ability to white label our solution, so we can sell directly as well as through channel partners. When I talk about a holistic wellness solution that doesn't exist yet, some of the key things to highlight is for large employers to offer new services to their employees to address all of these new requirements, new mental health, testing, record collection, and beyond. One of the things that's really, really key to understand is that employers are only looking to deploy one platform. They're not looking to onboard their employees onto multiple systems. And that's the core behind the design of our solution. It's very, very easy to implement, very easy to enroll employees. It's made up of multiple modules that are proprietary to us that we've developed. And then what's coming soon, beyond the things that we do in terms of testing and vaccination compliance management, we're working on introducing new services through partners. These include adult and teen mental health, talk to a nurse, order prescriptions, and a wide variety of supports. And it's kind of the beginnings of the model that we're working on now, which is to extend our definition of wellness beyond where we started, which was safety, to include well-being, which is emotional and mental health, to include physical health, so ordering of tests, ordering prescriptions, seeing a doctor, making all of that easy, as well as financial health. And this is actually coming from the market. We've been approached by a number of large banks and large financial services companies that are actually building specialized products. The source of a lot of the mental health challenges and worries and anxieties that people have actually are resulting from their financial position. So this only made sense for us to extend. And that's a new development from when we actually entered this competition. The benefits for employers are hugely significant. And there's, again, a lot of research that's coming out. This has been an underfunded area. It's not been studied very well, but in the last few years, there's some very, very reliable research. Sun Life did a very comprehensive study, and what they're finding is that the return on investment for employers is over 10%, which is very, very significant. There's very few things they can invest in that actually return that kind of, or have that kind of a benefit. For employers themselves, there's everything from cost savings to better retention, which reduces their turnover costs. They're also seeing greater productivity and performance and engagement. And that's not just a result of what we're doing, but just broadly bringing wellness solutions to their employees. But we believe that in the next 5 years, by the end of 5 years, every large enterprise is going to have a wellness solution. This is just the beginning of a brand new category. Our business model is somewhat unique. There are not very many companies that are doing what we're doing, but we started out with a SaaS model that helps us generate recurring revenue. We charge for a basic, we charge $3,000 to implement and $3 per employee per month. That's a set fee. We offer volume discounts as they go up. If they add more modules, they move on to the Pro. All of this is revenue straight to us. And then we are also working on partner add-ons. And the examples I gave, mental health, nurse chat, and so on, we take a portion of that revenue from what our partners bring to employees on our platform. And then the marketplace that we're moving to, that will open up further monetization opportunities to charge listing fees, booking fees. If you look at OpenTable, that's kind of a great example of what's possible for us. As it stands today, again, enterprise software companies usually charge a lot of money. They're dealing with large enterprises, which have very, very big budgets. They're hard to get into, but we're looking at anywhere from 38 to 42,000 for enterprises and schools and universities, just because of their sheer size and the kinds of things they look for. The proposals that we're putting forward are priced as shown. Traction so far. So as I mentioned, we launched in the fall. We were revenue within 30 days from launching. We've been able to win over NBC Universal. We have over 6,000 users on our platform, which is their employees and contractors. We are just starting a pilot with Post-Acute Medical, which is a very large 12,000 person healthcare organization in the US. They're putting 3 of their largest hospitals on our platform and all of the staff and so on. We're also working with Onlock, which is a very large long-term residential facility. We're also in discussions with US Department of Veterans Affairs. Advent Health, which is an 80,000 person healthcare organization, is looking to swap out what they built in-house at the beginning of the pandemic with a robust system like ours. And there's 11 others more than what we've shown. We've also built some great channel partnerships. This is sort of our long-term play in terms of growth. We won Pacific Blue Cross, which is BC's largest health services company and benefits company. And we've got a very exciting pipeline, including some really, really key players in the wellness space that are very interested in what we're doing and want to resell our product. We're also getting interest from companies like SecureGuard and some of the others that you might have heard of as they start to look at moving into the wellness space, which not something that we had expected. In terms of our financial projections, it's a very healthy business model. It has near 90% margins. This is true for most SaaS companies, so we're not unusual. We've kept our burn very low. We maintain a very tight ship. We're not a big team, but we have been able to grow our revenue from all of last year to just under 500K today in ARR. And we're looking at almost tripling that by the end of this year. And then, being about 8x of that in the year following. It's a very, very exciting time to be in this market. Wellness is really, really topical. Our biggest challenge, of course, is getting into enterprises. And that's why we're doing a combination of both direct and going through channel partners. We're just preparing for our Series A, which we are targeting a $10 million raise. We've raised just over $1 million to date. And the use of proceeds for what we're raising money for primarily is to ramp up our team. Like I said, we're a very small team. Some of these are very, very big enterprises. They're very, very demanding in terms of their customer service expectations, their implementation expectations. So we're wanting to ramp up from development to marketing and support. From a partnership standpoint, we're doing two-sided partnerships. There's one side where we are partnering with service partners like mental health service companies that I mentioned earlier. And also on the reseller side, we're building sort of partnerships with channel partners who want to resell our solution. And there's a number of product enhancements that we're hoping to make. We're working on a custom wellness assistant, which is a navigator, which is always tracking the state of wellness for an employee and guiding them through the marketplace, guiding them through the various services that are available. And we're also building a wellness marketplace, which will enable care providers to reach these employees directly. We are very, very confident about what we're doing. We're looking forward to actually being at the forefront of the space for some time. And some of the channel partners we're talking to that we can't disclose are some of the household names in enterprise software. We think that we have a really, really good shot at defining a new category, creating a new space in enterprise software and transforming lives in the process. We're a strong team. The timing is excellent for what we're doing. We do have a solution in market. The market is large and is expected to grow significantly. There are a whole bunch of underlying tailwinds and trends. And I will just end it there. I want to thank everyone for listening, and I'm happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Ashish. It was a great presentation. We've got some questions from our judges. So who has the first question? Go ahead, Manuel.
It's not clear to me, great presentation, by the way, but it's not clear to me what's your key differentiator, because in a SaaS world, it can be, you can get copied easily. So how do you differentiate yourself?
So there's two things that we do that most of our competitors don't do today. One is workforce automation. So we have a number of workflows that we've developed that HR essentially didn't have to do a few years ago, but now is basically taking up 80% of their time. So we automate a lot of these workflows. That's not something that a lot of our competitors do. The other one is we're trying to bring a holistic solution. As I mentioned, employers are very, very hesitant about deploying a solution like one for, oh, now you can access a nurse, and oh, now onboard to a whole other system, you can order prescriptions here. And by the way, mental health is through this, they want one gateway, one place for their employees to be able to access everything. So between our workflow automation that simplifies life for HR and our kind of all-in-one approach to meeting wellness, broad set of wellness needs, those are the two biggest differentiators we have.
Thank you for a great presentation. I don't know if you can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
There's two things I want to ask. I'm sorry if I missed it. Your team, can you expand on who's in your team and the expertise, if you don't mind? And the second question I was asking about the raise. You have a $10 million raise. You have an idea of evaluation of your company currently?
Yes, we do have an idea. Unfortunately, we don't disclose it in public forums, but if you are able to reach out to me, I'd be happy to share that with you. The team is comprised, we have a fantastic board as well, which I'm happy to talk about, but the team is comprised of myself. I've been working in enterprise SaaS for over 23 years. My colleague, Michael DeSandley, is one of the leading digital health experts. He has probably built and deployed more enterprise software in digital health than almost anyone in Western Canada. Mike Prokop, who has implementation and delivery, has been working in the enterprise space, deploying either large solutions or building solutions for enterprises for over 20 years. And my colleague, Bhupesh Ahuja, is one of the leading digital experts when it comes to enterprise and B2B sales and marketing. Did I address your question?
Yes, thanks. You didn't give me the valuation. That's the only thing.
I'm happy to talk to you about it privately. I hope that's okay.
And maybe one more question from a market segmentation standpoint. You have benefits providers that will have an app that delivers sort of a lot of the access to healthcare that I think is proposed here. So maybe a commentary on sort of where you see a sweet spot in the market. Like, are there enterprises or businesses that sort of, maybe have a lot of overlap here that are not going to be interested versus ones where there's clearly a space for you to provide all this and they just don't have a lot of solutions yet in place? and maybe just an assessment of how big each category is.
Sure. So there are companies that companies have typically done is I would say outsourced the health and care of their employees in terms of benefits. They fall into two categories. They fall into standard kind of benefits, whether there's medical, extended health, and so on, or dental, optical, and so on. And then on the other side, they have employee assistance programs. Not every company has this, but generally what's offered to employees falls into one of those two categories. It's despite the fact that these two exist, all of the trends that I mentioned in my presentation, so everything that has happened, every stat that you're seeing, the growth of sort of mental health challenges, like everything that you're seeing, everything that's being talked about has actually happened with those things in place. And when you look under the covers, what you find is that the usage rate of employee assistance programs is between 3 and 5%. And that it's actually not, it's gone up to 5% in the last few years, but it's usually around 3% for most organizations. So what we sort of see is this is sort of a third category where this becomes a better way of delivering some of the actual benefits that you are trying to access as an employee, but are not, you don't have, let's say it's just the ease of use of actually getting to them does not exist. And you have to go through, pretty much old-fashioned methods to, once you find the doctor, everything else is offline. Or once how do you actually end up talking to a nurse to clarify something about your prescription? So, our approach is to actually, like I said, consolidate multiple types of services. But fundamentally, we feel like we're creating a new category. It's like a third way that brings some of those services digitally and offers new things that you weren't able to access before. I'm sorry, if I could just to repeat the last part of the question, the size of each of the segments. Is that what you were asking? I wasn't clear on that.
Well, I think you answered it. Yeah, it was more kind of how your solution fit between what existed. So thank you for the answer.
It's the new iPad. If I could use Steve Jobs' example between the phone and the laptop, it's the iPad. Sorry, Jeff.
No, I was just going to say, unfortunately, we're out of time. So congratulations for a great presentation.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So judges, it's that time. So Yashvi will show you where there's a room we have for you so you can do your deliberations and come up with a decision. So we'll let you guys retire for a few minutes. While the judges are deliberating, we've got Chris Shaw here from our host, Baylis, who's going to do a brief presentation. So maybe Mahendra, our chapter president, is going to do an introduction and we'll go from there.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff, for moderating. So how about a great thank you to Chris Shaw, Baylis, and also Sandy, who's put all of this together. Thank you very much. I know today in business headlines, we talk about unicorns. I know Jeff earlier mentioned a unicorn that came through TideQuest. There might be a unicorn from the 6 companies that just presented. But let's hear about the unicorn up until early this year that most people didn't really know. Baylis, okay? It's an amazing story, okay? Private company founded by the Baylis family, led by Chris Shaw and the team, have built an amazing company. And they're on to their next venture, let's call it, for lack of a better narrative, Baylis MedTech. So why don't we have Chris Shaw here and talk about the Baylis story. It's quite fascinating. If you could put away your cell phones, your smartphones, and pay attention to what Chris has to say about Baylis, you'll be impressed. Chris?
Thanks. So first, thanks for that kind introduction, Mahendra. So before I make any remarks, organizing these events, as you know, it takes lots of effort, considerable amount of resources have to go into it, and nothing happens without hard work of a number of individuals who made it happen. So I think first of all, we should give a big hand of applause to Mahendra Naik, Jeff, Pankaj, and rest of the Tide team that made this happen. Well, we're doing the easy part, enabling this to happen, but they're lifting all the heavy weight for a very, very, very long time. I also want to send thank you, Sandy, Taylor, and rest of the Baylis team that made it happen. So thank you, Sandy, Taylor, for all your work. And third comment I'd like to make is to all the contenders, first of all, best wishes. And it was really heartfelt to see all the hard work that's gone into it, passion they're all bringing to this into this world, and how far they've gone in the journey from early seed days to where they are. And it's not easy in MedTech space or software space. So tremendous work, and congratulations to all of them. And I wish them well, however they go in today, but I'm sure they have a bright future as they go ahead. So congratulations to your hard work there. I wanted to kind of speak a little bit about Baylis Medical Technologies and give a little corporate overview. And I just have very few slides, but I thought I'll go with the slides. Then usually Q&A is a little bit more interesting. So hopefully we'll have a few minutes for a few questions that I could take. So Baylis Medical Technology in kind of nutshell came out as a result of the divestiture of Baylis Medical Company to Boston Scientific. Divestiture just happened in February 22. And the journey behind Baylis Medical itself is kind of interesting. Company was started in 1986 by Gloria Baylis, who was a nurse, and she started as a distribution company in cardiac electrophysiology space. And I joined with Frank in 1989, so very early stages we joined. So we started as a distribution company. We were buying and selling devices, which is a low capital business, but does generate income. So we took the kind of the ideas and revenue from that and became a manufacturing company in 2001. So the very first system we developed was for chronic pain management for interventional space. So we developed a system and we launched it very height of 9/11. The very first day of sales was a day of 9/11 when we were training people. So we launched that and we started distributing that with Kimberly-Clark in the US. So that was a kind of first major change that occurred. We went from 6 people to about 150 people within a matter of 18 months because the Kimberly-Clark has huge demand on it. And it's entirely different business from just buying and selling to developing, manufacturing, FDA approval, and so forth into that. And it was also a time of very rapid learning. We had to learn a lot in awful short space on developing products for distribution. But business grew quite well. We invested quite a bit in R&D, developing manufacturing processes, and developed a whole set of infrastructure here in Mississauga. So we have other 2 plants down the street. We were doing manufacturing and distributing that. In 2009, Kimberly-Clark decided to buy the business from us. So we divested the space to them. And we knew this was coming because they said they didn't want to be in distribution business for too long. So eventually they were going to acquire us. So we were ready for that. And we're happy to do the divestiture at that time. And we took some of the proceeds from that and invested in cardiology business. So we kind of morphed into cardiovascular space. And that's where we had, I think, real success into it. Perhaps because we had done one exit, we could kind of take higher level of risk and invest at faster rate and had more whereabouts how to do that. And this time we set up instead of going through distributors, we set up direct sales channels in the US and Europe and Canada. And I think that made a huge difference in being able to kind of control our destiny from conceiving of a medical device to developing it, manufacturing it, selling it, commercializing it, teaching physicians how to use it, and collect the money at the invoice at the end, take some of the profit and recycle it. And as a result, we were able to grow our cardiology business. And we divested that to Boston Scientific, and we announced a deal in October of 21, and the deal closed on February 15th of this year. And at the time of divestiture, we had roughly 1,000 people. Boston announced that they're expecting sales of something $200 million in calendar 22. And you may have seen the news release. The deal was an all-cash deal at $1.7 billion US. So it was a fairly healthy multiples into that. So we're very, very happy to have done that. And they're acquired 850 people from our business. And Baylis MedTech, we did a carve out of some of our vascular products, and which I'll talk about in a few minutes, that we're going to be running forward with. And one key thing I want to kind of impart on a lot of entrepreneurs in the room is that having started as a distribution company and taking the profit and doing the development, then doing the first exit, then investing that in our cardiovascular space, we're able to do all of this without raising any capital. So we had no other external investors throughout the entire journey from 1986 on, and without any external debt. So even at the time of divestiture, it was a very, very clean structure, which I think helped do the deal. But of course, it's a slow journey. We've been at it for a little over 30 years, but nonetheless, it's very gratifying to be having to done it without any external capital in that way. So kind of looking forward to our MedTech, Baylis MedTech. So the products on the left hand, you'll see the products we divested to Boston Scientific, which are all in what's called interventional cardiology space. So we go through the groin to treat something in the heart. And in our particular business, we're making holes in the heart to go from one chamber to the other chamber for therapeutic reasons. So very specialized set of products, but very rapid growth, relatively high margin. So that's the business we sold to Boston Scientific. And we have 3 lines of businesses that we're incubating further. First is in our radiology product line, where we kept some technology of going through chronic occlusions in the body, where you have occlusions that you can't get across mechanically. So you can use a radio frequency energy to get across. So it's a technology we had, but we weren't able to focus on it due to our work in cardiology space. So we're investing in it. We hired a number of engineers, and we're going to try to make that as our growth engine going forward. We also have business in respiratory. This came about result of COVID-19. You may or may not be aware, the middle of COVID-19, we were tasked by Canadian government to make 10,000 ventilators. So we set up entirely new business line and new plants, not something we made before. So we set up a plant in the middle of the COVID with 400 people. We had to hire overnight and re-engineer a product that was kind of open label for Medtronics. So we made 10,000 ventilators, shipped them to Canadian government. Fortunately, they did not need them, but they are using them now to ship to Africa, India, Pakistan, Uganda, and even to Ukraine now. So we're gratified that they're using them in some capacity, and they'll plan to hold them in national reserve such that they could be deployed in future pandemics and so forth. And so we'll be maintaining these products for them. They have to be updated and kind of calibrated, whatnot. So we'll continue that business for Canadian government. Then we have some products in what we call OEM, R&D, and manufacturing. So we do OEM work for Medtronic, a single customer, where we had developed some technologies and we sold it to them. So we do manufacturing and R&D. So it's an OEM business, which has different characteristics altogether than our name brand products in radiology and our contract manufacturing work for respiratory work. And we have a product that we've been incubating for a few years called Anchor Knot, used by spinal surgeon for suturing a disc after the case. So we have a number of kind of areas. Some are steady state business and OEM production. Some are venture business for Anchor Knot, as well as radiology. And we'll see how the business grows. So we intend to use this Baylis MedTech as our kind of platform to go further. We have 4 key values: technological leadership, developing our staff, customer service, and social responsibility. These are identical to our kind of mission and values we had in Baylis Medical that served us for the last 30 years. So we'll be continuing that on. We're going to be operating out of 2 buildings, which is just down on Matheson Street, Matheson, where we do R&D and manufacturing and rest of the functions. So about 100,000 square feet space or so. And our kind of some of the pictures of our manufacturing space, so some of the manufacturing space that we currently have. And I'm glad to say we have a very strong group of leaders, including strong board of directors, that are helping us move our business forward. And kind of looking forward, we look forward to growing our Baylis MedTech business, both in contract R&D manufacturing, but mainly in our cardiovascular space. We expect that to be a global business, global focus. We have a number of sites in US, Canada, and Europe that use the system. We hope to expand further onto it. It'll be Baylis branded product, and we're fully vertically integrated, meaning that we can go from a concept to development, regulatory, manufacturing, and so forth. So we control the entire value chain, which I think has a enormous kind of value we can bring to patients and our business, because we can go at a very lightning speed of going from a concept to getting it into the physician's hand and using it, and we control the entire value chain. And from a business perspective, we accrue all the value that comes out of that. So we don't have bleeds for distributor, or believes we're a manufacturing company, we capture the entire value. And as a rapid development in manufacturing, you benefit from that as you get better at it over time. Margins improve, of course, and you can innovate at a much faster rate than you have to go through middlemen to sell or manufacture things. So we can control from a concept to getting it out. And if you control the entire chain, you have a kind of direct control of the bus, if you will, and you can go where you want to go at very rapid rate. So that's what we hope to be doing and establishing ourselves as a vertically integrated medical device company. Something Baylis was, now Baylis MedTech will carry that on. So with that, I'll stop. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take it, or if not, we can have some more food. But
A round of applause for Chris and Baylis. Thank you very much. So before we ask the audience to ask questions, Chris, I'm going to ask a question.
Sure.
Not financial or business or whatever. What caught my attention was Gloria Baylis Foundation. Maybe you can talk about that or elaborate on that. I think it goes to one of the core values,
That's
social
right, yeah.
responsibility.
So one of our core values right from the beginning has been corporate social responsibility, meaning giving back to the society. First of all, we're all very fortunate to live in Canada, and there's no better time to recognize than seeing all the problems around the world. So we should benefit other parts of the world, or even in Canada, that can benefit from our resources. So over the years, we set up an internal foundation where we're working with Free the Children to open schools around the world, and even doing breakfast programs here. So our employees would raise money, we would match that, and we opened like dozen schools around the world under FTC. Now we kind of formalized that once we did the divestiture called Gloria Baylis Foundation, recognition of our founder. And the idea is to focus on health and education on a global basis. So we were funding that. Our employees are part of it to help us grow that out. And we hope to do bigger things all around medical education. So some of the initial projects are we sponsoring cardiologists to go to Africa to teach local cardiologists there how to do certain procedures. So as part of education and helping patients, be local schooling program. And we want to take this to all the communities we operate in. So as we sell in the US and Europe, want to do it on local basis as much as we do on kind of developing country basis. So more on local, both in Canada, US, Europe, locally, as well as kind of on international basis. So foundation just got started as a result of this divestiture, and we hope to fund it and go further into that area.
Thank you, Chris. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. So anybody else has questions? I think we've got Yashvi with a microphone as well. So please feel free before the judges come back with the results. Okay. Please. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good question. We could have certainly carried on into that. There's a number of things that kind of went through our head as we were growing. We're a 1,000 people company, and we're growing quite nicely, but we're in a single product category business. And being a technology, that's always very, very risky to be in a single product company. So over the last 5-6 years, we're aware of this issue, and we were investing to diversify. But our main business was growing at a rate of roughly 35% a year. So we're doubling every 2.25 years. So we could not overcome the growth rate by diversifying. And only way to diversify further was we'd have to do acquisitions. And to do acquisitions, we'd have to change our capital structure, going from a single shareholder entity. So we'd have to get either public money or private money. And that, by definition, is a divestiture in its own right. We lost control. So we thought in order to go through that process, better that we sell to Strategic immediately. Second is luck came our way in terms of during COVID, the valuations for health tech stocks went through the roof. So they were going for, in terms of multiples, they expanded by 3 times revenue from kind of 5 or 6 times to our deal is done at 10 times revenue. So it was incredible valuation, and the timing felt right that this was the kind of the right time to do it. So it was more of a timing thing. We were investing fully to grow. Even as we were doing the exit, we have 2 manufacturing plants here. We're setting a plant in Costa Rica, which was 3/4 done. And we're going to move kind of all the growth production there, so we could become a global kind of products where we design products here, manufacture in Costa Rica, and sell them in Japan. So that was kind of the vision, and we were very close to that. But the timing being what it is, and the opportunity came, and we thought this was the right time to do it. It was a very, very complex decision. but I think ultimately it was the right one for our staff and us and the kind of the future into it. And we were able to negotiate that Boston will keep the operations in Canada for next 5 years at minimum, have Canadian board of directors and Canadian leadership teams. So hopefully teams will grow here, which I'm sure they will into that area. We would have, if we had kept the business, we would definitely have doubled it by 2025. And we're hoping Boston can double it by 2024. So if they do that, then the business will grow because we were growing at a rate of 30-35% a year. So on our own right, we would have doubled that. But and they paid for the growth, and you see the multiples were very healthy. So that was kind of the impetus behind it into that.
Any more questions?
I have a question. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I ask? Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Oh, I apologize. This is Ashish from Vancouver. Very, very impressive. Everything you just shared with us. I'm sorry, I do apologize. I was not very familiar with the story, but thank you for sharing that. Very inspiring company. I was wondering if you could just speak to what kind of culture was fostered inside, because I don't think it's possible to do what you were doing and have the impact you were having without having a really strong, grounded sort of corporate culture. Would you mind speaking to that?
No, not at all. I think you're absolutely right. It does take a strong culture of values to be able to go at this rate, to maintain that. So I think we did a few things right. And when I reflect back on the exit, one of the key things we did was development of our staff. Most of our senior leadership, even at exit, was homegrown, meaning they grew with us over the years. So we spent considerable amount of resources educating both formally and informally to bring people into that. And the second thing we had in the culture wise was make it happen attitude. So, I'm a firm believer that when something happens, it happens, or projects get done, or sale happens, because one single individual gets up and says, this is my job to make it happen. Okay. There's 1,000 reasons why something doesn't happen. It's raining, someone's late, vendor's late, this, that, employee didn't do anything. There's 1,000 reasons. Okay. But things get done if one person gets up and saying, I'm going to take this as my emotional responsibility to make it happen and drive through that. So we kind of foster that. When people exhibited that skill, they would benefit, and we would get them rise into that, let them grow fast as it could, hard as it could into that area. And if people came with a lot of problems, we have to educate them to say, look, I already know all the problems. Okay, we need you to come do something about that. So kind of establishing a make it happen attitude, combined with very strong focus on employee development and developing ourselves, I think kind of contributed to that. So even as we're growing, we had to learn ourselves. Like Frank and myself, every day was the biggest business we ever learned. We're engineers by training. We have no formal business training. Our families don't come from business. So we had to kind of educate ourselves every day on how to run, or how to go sell in Japan, or how to do reimbursement in UK, whatnot. So all of these things had to be learned and grown into that. But having kind of learning mindset as a company, as well as make it happen attitude, and fostering that, I think was a key to getting us where we are. And if it wasn't for that, I don't think we would have succeeded. You're absolutely right. And I think you had a question regarding what's our challenge. Well, our biggest challenge is as we kind of transition our business to Boston, which has happened. Deal just closed 6 weeks ago. So our new challenge is in this Baylis MedTech as we grow our cardiovascular business out and develop this new set of products and see where we could take that to. So say we're starting with roughly 150 staff, established kind of early stages establishment of the business, and we hope to grow that out and see where that can take us. So say enormous challenge in that, right? And second is maybe along foundations and do other things, expanding upon it with this we're grateful for the exit and the financial kind of value that accrues to that. Now we need to use that for greater good, and how we deploy that, time will tell, but as we kind of think our way through that. Judges are ready? Well, thank you, Dennis. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stay up here.
Oh, yes.
So thank you, Chris. What an incredibly inspiring story. I have about 3 or 4 or 5, 6 companies you could add to the portfolio. Yeah, so always, always ask for the order, right? Anyhow, but thank you very much. I didn't keep you up here for that purpose. So, well, you guys know how hard it was to decide. I mean, you saw the presentations. And there's going to be one really happy company and 5 not so happy companies, but everybody's a winner. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Just to get here, everyone's a winner. And I don't know how the judges made a decision, but they had to, and they did. What they decided to do was name like the top 3, and then the other 3 are essentially tied for 4th, because the differences were so small that anybody could have won, really, frankly, as far as I'm concerned. In fact, I was a little bit personally surprised with the winner, only because I've seen these presentations and I know the players, and I kind of developed my own kind of thought about it, but of course I'm never right. We used to do a People's Choice Award where we'd get the audience to vote, and then of course the audience always picks somebody different than the judges. So the point of the whole thing is that it's very subjective, and the whole exercise is really to showcase these companies, which I think they did a really good job of doing. So I think we've achieved our purpose regardless of what happens, but we have to have a winner. So, Mahendra, come on up too. Sorry, you'll know who the players are probably a little bit better. So, in 3rd place, Braze Mobility and Pooja. In 2nd place, Orange. And the winner, Marlo. So come on up. Yes, just to remind, so come on over on the side. So congratulations. Congratulations. Welcome. So they're winning a $10,000 prize. They're going to be eligible for a $100,000 investment, and then all of the in-kind prizes from Fasken and from BDO and from Bond, and I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. So should we have a picture? Who's taking? You come here, Yashvi. Thank you. You're welcome. Congratulations. Sure. So Vinay, come on up. I got to get rid of this. Should we do one more picture? And Pooja's not here, so we'll make sure she gets it.
I'm here.
Yeah, congratulations. So that's the end of my list. So we're done. Go ahead.
Yeah, Chris just politely reminded me that the winner gets $10,000 cash, and in due course we'll disperse that to Marlo, and the rest of the 5 winners or runners-up each will get $2,000. And please connect with me, and we'll get that organized and dispersed in due course as well. So again, thank you very much, and thank you, Chris Shah and Baylis, for sponsoring and supporting.
So just before everyone leaves, I just want to thank our judges. Great job, tough job. Next Thursday, same time, 111 downtown Toronto. We're doing this all over again for the regular stream. 6 more companies, 6 tough decisions. Thanks to our sponsors, Baylis, thanks. I mean, just like first class, great, and pulled it all together quickly and just terrific. That's it. Thanks, Yashvi. Thanks, Mahendra, Kanchan, Mo. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to our audience on Zoom, and good night. We're out.